Chapter 61 Deep Sea Prison. King Adolf, how do you plan to use Poseidon's power? Jinbei was uneasy. I haven't thought about it. Let's look at Shirahoshi specifically. Huh. Jinbei was stunned. What kind of casual answer is this? That's Poseidon. As long as we have a population of 5 billion, is Poseidon important? Adolf asked rhetorically. With just one word, Jinbei was left speechless. As long as we have a population of 5 billion, we can dig out the islands where humans live, shovel by shovel, and we can dig straight tunnels even on the Red Earth continent. As long as we have a population of 5 billion, as long as we develop ourselves well, cultivate the next generation, tell them that we are no worse than anyone else, and give them confidence, courage, sunshine, and love. How many young people will emerge who love their race and country? What kind of bright future will there be then? Adolf looked at him with no wavering in his eyes from beginning to end, because he always thought so. At that time, does it matter whether there is Poseidon or not? Jinbei was completely speechless at this time, convinced and completely convinced. Jinbei shook his head and laughed at himself. I'm still worried that you will take advantage of Poseidon. It's too short-sighted. Development is king. As for Shirahoshi, I will try my best to train her. As long as she loves her country and has correct values, she can do whatever she wants. Adolf answered directly. In his plan, Shirahoshi is only the final trump card, a guarantee, not the whole plan. It's best never to trigger this guarantee, which means the success of his plan. Of course, it's not the 5 billion plan. That's too long. I finally realized what a true king is today. King Adolf, I will fight for you with all my life. Jinbei is sincerely convinced and approves from the bottom of his heart. Adolf grinned and said, I am fighting for the Sea Clan and Fishman Island, and I will not let you down. Is there any difference whether he is the king of Fishman Island, for Fishman Island, or for him? But there is a difference for Jinbei. The former is undoubtedly more diligent and instantly raises Adolf's level. Jinbei nodded heavily, completely unaware of this. He has always been confused and doesn't know what to do. But one thing is unquestionable, and that is the sacrifice he made for Fishman Island. For the fishmen of the Sun Pirates who were wandering on the sea and could not return to their hometown, he became the 7 warlords of the sea, endured the world government's orders, and also released Eren, who was imprisoned in Impel Down City. After Whitebeard's death, for the sake of peace on Fishman Island, he went to the Big Mom Pirates to become a member of it, so that Fishman Island could be protected by the Big Mom flag. Is this what he really wants? Although he obviously has considerable strength, he did not leave like Namuel, but was forced to compromise again and again for Fishman Island. Such a person is worthy of trust. Only when he met Wang Lufei did he start to lose his mind. With the strength Wang Lufei showed on Fishman Island, can he challenge Big Mom? We're here. All the marine prisoners are here. Adolf and Jinbei came to the seabed under Fishman Island, which is no longer in Fishman Island. In the entire cave space filled with light from Yangshu Eve, only the area behind Fishman Island, where Fishman Street and the giant ship Noah is located, has a large area of darkness, and everything else is within the range of the light. Below, dozens of them are fixed in the bubble space on the seabed. 25,000 Marines were divided and imprisoned here, also known as the underwater prison by Adolf. There is no need to tie them up here. As long as they dare to come out of the bubble, they will be crushed to death by the terrifying water pressure immediately. It is equivalent to the body bearing 200,000 meters of seawater at an altitude of 200 kilometers from all sides. It's not carried on the back, but compressed from all directions. Water is a flowing liquid. Your feet, waist, neck, eyes, nostrils, mouth, anus, etc. Every inch of skin on your body must bear this weight. As long as you dare to come out, it will be crushed into blood mist and merge with the sea water. Ordinary lieutenant generals are no exception. Even if there is a pure taijutsu general-level expert who can bear more than 200,000 tons of water pressure per cubic meter, his strength will be greatly suppressed, and he will have to solve the breathing problem immediately. As for those with abilities, they burped on the spot. Arrange them as soon as possible, Adolf said. Yes. Jinbei nodded. Then Adolf looked up and swam over. It was a square water prison fixed in mid-air by chains. Although bubbles are used to isolate seawater, there is also a large amount of seawater inside the bubble. The prisoners inside are soaked in seawater, with only their heads above the water, and their heads directly touch the top of the bubble, leaving no extra space at all. At the same time, their hands and feet were fixed to steel seats, and they were further restricted by seafloor stone handcuffs so that they could not even move. Added to this are destructive designs, namely dynamite explosions. It's not to blow them up, that's unrealistic, but to destroy the bubbles and completely expose them to the outside seawater. There are 500 Murloc warriors guarding the water prison, and any problem will be discovered immediately. It's really scary. Even the world government would shake their heads after seeing this. It really doesn't give them any chance to escape. Kizaru felt uncomfortable when he saw Adolf arriving. Compared with the scary bites and supernovas with one kick, This time it was really scary and made him despair. This is a basic courtesy to you three and recognition of your strength, Adolf said happily. Then thank you so much for taking care of us. Aokiji looked calmly. Actually, I am planning to pierce your peepa bones with sea tower stone chains, and then build a sea tower stone seat to fix you on. This will give me peace of mind even if you are unable to use all your magical powers. It only takes one word to silence the three most powerful Marines. To be honest, they can't think of any way to escape at this point. If they are strengthened, they will think too highly of them. If it's impelled down, we have to keep people alive in order to prevent devil fruit from appearing everywhere. It would be better to simply chop off the hands and feet and carve them into human piglets. They are all sea garbage that was burned, looted, and burned. They do not need sympathy and are not worthy of being rescued. Then use sea tower stone chains to pass through the peepa bones and soak them in seawater to fix them. I would rather recommend that Shongqing do this. It's more effective than ice torture, and it's less worrying. Adolf made valuable suggestions. This made the three of them become more and more silent. After a while, Aokiji finally said, if we can go back, we will make suggestions to our superiors. Adolf's expression slowly darkened. What happens after you go back? Will you continue to serve the celestial dragons after you go back? The three of them looked at Adolf quietly. They could think of a general with a normal IQ, and they instantly understood that they were instigating rebellion. I can tell you directly, it is inciting rebellion. Adolf also explained directly. You killed tens of thousands of Marines. Do you think it's possible? Aokiji said calmly, not afraid of angering him at all. But the purpose of your coming is to destroy the Fishman Island. Kill 5 million people. Exterminate the Fishman race. Adolf's eyes were sharp and his voice was even deeper. Aokiji lowered his head, unable to meet his eyes. He thought of the tragedy that happened in O'Hara, where Akainu destroyed all the escaping boats and killed all the civilians on board. I only want to ask you one question. Why did you become Marine? Can it be realized in Marine and in world government? P.S. The tail of a mermaid will not turn into legs when it is 30 years old, and it will have a stick. Otherwise, wouldn't mermaids reproduce? Human beings will give birth to a mermaid clan. In addition, humans with mermaid descent are very talented in swimming. A little girl under 10 years old in the Seven Water City can rescue Luffy and the others from the maelstrom. Chapter 62, Instigating Rebellion. What is the purpose of becoming a Marine? Is it possible to achieve it? Akainu Sakazuki, Aokiji Kazan, and Kizaru Porcellino all fell silent. They joined Marine when they were young, showed monster-like talents, were reused, and obtained lava, ice, and shining fruits. But now, Aokiji has changed from burning justice to lazy justice. Kizaru, the best-mannered person, gradually turned into an old fritter who could just get by at work. Only Akainu is still burning, in an extreme way. Adolf glanced at the three of them. Marine is certain. Marine is the only one in the entire sea who is really catching pirates, trying his best to maintain order and protect civilians. Although there is corruption at the grassroots level, it is a minor problem. But what about the world government? Where are the royal nobles of the participating countries? You have seen it, right? It is better than the ugly face of the pirates. Take the destruction of the country as a game. The pupils of the three people contracted, and the silence was deafening. Not only did they know it, they even used warships to protect the entire island for their entertainment. What a shame for the righteous Marine. Do you have any idea? No, you don't. Don't worry, you don't even have the qualifications to mention it. Because you are just driven subordinates, the dogs of the celestial dragons. Akainu, how does it feel to kneel down? Is it humiliating? Adolf looked at Akainu. If you don't mention it, maybe you can still convince me. Akainu clenched his fists and rubbed his steel teeth. How dare you mention this lifetime of humiliation? Haha. Adolf smiled faintly, but you can obviously refuse. Is it worth it for the Tianlong people's garbage? Humph, that's easy to say. Without the military spending from the world government, how can Marine maintain order in the sea? If you want to overthrow the world government, do you really understand the strength of the world government? Akainu snorted coldly. Not only the three generals who are directly subordinate to the celestial dragons, but also any Marine who knows a little bit about them can't stand the celestial dragons. But so what? Their personal rebellion is the largest pirate force in the New World, and they are insignificant to the world government. If you take the lead in the rebellion, hey, if you don't run away, you will be eliminated by the Knights of God on the same day. Even if he becomes Fleet Admiral, it is impossible to escape the control of the world government. I'll answer them one by one. The economy of the world government mainly comes from 170 participating countries, each of which is 10 billion Baileys per year, and 1.7 trillion Baileys per year. It is very huge, but that's all. Huh. The three of them raised their heads with a row of question marks. What do you mean this is all? 1.7 trillion Baileys a year. You look down on it? I won't talk to you about economics. It's too profound and you won't understand. I'm telling you directly, I will rule the entire world and include all countries, whether affiliated or non-franchised countries. The original nobles and royal families will all be summoned to the public to expose them. If there are any evil deeds, those who deserve to be killed will be executed, and those who deserve to have their homes confiscated will be executed. In this way, all the people are my subjects, and pirates are naturally an unstable factor that must be eliminated. Showing off his cards, he wants to overthrow the world government and rule the world. In the end, you just want to be the king of the world, Akainu sarcastically said. Adolf's eyes were calm. As long as the fishman race continues to develop, I can become the king of the world. The three of them fell silent for a moment. Yes, the deep-sea race with a population of 5 billion does not need any tricks at all. As time goes by, he can become the well-deserved king of the world. They had heard everything they said in the square before, and they couldn't understand it. After establishing the empire, I can guarantee with my head that all famine problems will be completely solved within a month. At least no one will starve to death. It would be a shame for me to starve to death. The pirate problem will be completely solved within 3 years, and the people will live and work in peace and contentment. It cannot be said that there are no pirates, but it is all petty theft and will never become a reality. Adolf is extremely confident. If it were in the original world, he would not dare to say this, because it is a problem that even the motherland has not solved. But this world is different, completely different. 1 or 3 months to eliminate hunger. 3 years to eliminate pirates? Do you know what you are talking about? Kizaru looked at him as if he was mentally retarded. Do you know what's going on around the world? How many countries are starving to death? In one country called the Kingdom, more than 1,000 people starve to death every year. Aokiji said deeply. I want to know how you are going to solve the pirate problem in 3 years. Akainu asked. Adolf looked at Akainu and asked, if the world government wants to solve it, is there really no way to solve it? Akainu fell silent. They have the ability to solve it, but they haven't solved it, so the priority to solve is not the pirates, but them. Adolf said. Then he turned to look at Aokiji and continued to ask, you only know that these countries are poor and many people starve to death. Then do you know why so many people starve to death? The three of them looked at him with a little anger in their eyes. They were humiliated again. Humiliation is the same as humiliating a retard. Humph. Akainu snorted, making them look like idiots. I knelt down physically before, but this time I have to kneel down even mentally? Adolf smiled lightly and said proactively, it's very simple. Let's take you Marine as an example. Only one warship can solve the problem of a kingdom. The first step is to kill the king of the starving kingdom. The second step is to kill all the unstable factors that cause chaos in the kingdom. The third step is to lead them to open up Wasteland Sea Catch. No matter how rich you are, at least no one will starve to death. It's very brainless, focusing on being simple and crude. The three of them frowned. What does killing the king have to do with starving people to death? Of course it does matter. Look at those countries where people are starving to death. Are their islands barren? Are they all rocks, desert, or soil with vegetation growing on them? A country where thousands of people starve to death every year will never have a small population base. But an island that is not suitable for habitation will never have that many people surviving. Besides, the island is surrounded by sea. How could anyone starve to death? Adolf felt ridiculous. The world's oceans are so rich in products, but you're still starving to death? Aokiji was in a low mood. I have never been to the kingdom of compensation, but you are right? Kizaru and Akainu were also silent. They have gone on so many sea missions and seen too many poor places, but is the island itself poor? Is it not suitable for farming and fishing? If an animal doesn't get fat just by eating, there must be parasites in its belly. If people work hard but can't get rich, there must be vampires in that society. Their hunger is not caused by the environment, but by people. The exploiters are greedier than vampires. Akainu and Aokiji became more and more silent. Marine can't interfere in the internal affairs of other countries, especially the domestic affairs of alliances, even if these royal families do too much. When Kizaru opened his mouth, he no longer looked carefree and looked particularly serious. I have another way. This is my plan to further improve the happiness level of the people after solving the problems of the kingdom itself. The power of devil fruit not only brings disaster, it can also bring new life and happiness. As far as I know, there is someone in Marine who has the ability to grow fruit. Can it be used to spawn more food and vegetables? Or even cultivate high-yielding crops? Adolf said. Lush fruits? The three of them took the initiative to follow Adolf's thoughts. Chapter 63 Momosaji Gion. Use the power of devil fruit to improve people's living standards. The three of them understood his thoughts instantly and looked at Adolf with complicated eyes. People who have obtained the devil fruit always think about how to improve their strength, how to develop unique skills, and how to kill more people. No one has ever thought of using ability to make people happy. Even if the three of them obtained such powerful fruit abilities, they would at most think about how to kill more pirates, rather than how to make people's lives better. But the source of the problem cannot be solved. No matter how much food is given, it will be taken away and then turned around and sold. In the end, nothing changes, so this is a matter after solving the world government and the royal family. What you Marines are doing now is just to deal with the pirates. Can it really cure the root cause? Think about it, a country with enough food and clothing, a loved one, lovely children, a happy family, and 3 or 2 friends who are brothers and sisters, and a country with deep feelings, must be happy. Why would such a person risk everything on the sea, just because Roger said one piece? There was a deathly silence, and the 3 of them were completely speechless. They lowered their heads and couldn't see their faces clearly, and they didn't know what they were thinking. They found the true source of the Great Pirate Age, and also saw the solution. But they are Marines. Adolf looked at them quietly without urging them, giving them enough time. Bulu bulu bulu. Your Majesty Poseidon, here are the checkpoint troops stationed at the entrance to the undersea passage. Currently, we have stopped a marine warship, headed by a woman named Gion. She said she was sent by the Warring States period to negotiate with you. The phone bug reported. I know. Collect all their weapons and guide them to Dragon Palace City. If they don't hand it over, let them go back, force their way in and sink it. Adolf said. Yes. His Majesty Poseidon orders you to hand over all weapons, and I will send someone to take you to Fishman Island. Gion also heard the sound of the electric insect and hesitated for a moment, but still ordered, everyone hand over their weapons. At the same time, she also handed over the famous sword Jinbuyuo she held. Marine is here to negotiate. You can think about it slowly, Adolf said, and turned to leave. Wait. Aokiji called, and Adolf did stop, turning his back to them. What do you need us to do? Aokiji asked. Go back to Marine, continue to be your 3 generals, and wait for the opportunity. During this period, you can take a deeper look at world government and the participating countries to see if I am your best choice. You want us to be undercovers? Akainu frowned. To be precise, I hope you will lead the entire Marine to join us. Marine is truly fighting for world peace. Every one of them is worthy of respect, and every soldier is worth fighting for. I don't want these righteous people who love the people to die. Adolf shook his head and corrected. Hey, aren't you afraid that we won't come back if we leave? Kizaru said with a bit of wretchedness. I will execute the celestial dragons in a few days. If the justice you pursue is to stabilize the world and eliminate chaos, then I am your only choice. Of course, you can also choose to deceive me and betray the justice in your hearts. After saying that, Adolf left. Execute the celestial dragons. Looking at the direction Adolf left, the pupils of the 3 people shrank, and some kind of shock surged out. They are righteous Marines, subordinates of the world government. They see the sins of the celestial dragons more clearly than anyone else, and they are more unbearable than anyone else. There was another long silence in the water prison, and no one spoke to communicate. Although they are colleagues, the relationship between the 3 of them is not good, nor can they be said to be comrades in arms. What's more, with their character, they don't need to discuss with other people on important matters that determine their future. Tap, tap, tap. Dragon Palace City U Dragon King Hall. Lieutenant General Gion came to the center step by step wearing a bubble wrap. On both sides, Jinbei, Neptune, Odoheim, Hody and others were all present. It's not that Gion deserves so much attention, but learning how to run a country with him. How could he understand this as a painter, and even less do these people, including the former King Neptune? But it's not a big problem. Most people in this world are ridiculously poor, so there's no need to worry about not being competent enough. Even in the original world, people often learn by doing, and everyone is just bluffing. When you graduate from a technical secondary school and give a lecture on finance to the CEO and boss, will you be sold for the rest of your life by simply saying, you don't have enough knowledge? A military advisor who has never even touched a girl's hand turns to analyze the feelings of a good brother? Who would have thought that a big V in the relationship field with millions of fans would be single and never fall in love once? Poseidon Adolf, with a bounty of 5.6 billion belly. The man who killed the celestial dragon and is about to execute the celestial dragon. Gion looked solemnly at the man sitting on the throne, his arm casually supporting his chin. Explain your purpose, Marine. Adolf lowered his eyes. He didn't know how to show dignity, so he had to pretend when he went out. But it doesn't matter. His own strength is his confidence. This world is more direct and mindless. I am Marine Lieutenant General Gion. Sengoku Fleet Admiral sent me to negotiate. The Warring States Fleet Admiral hopes to re-establish the friendship between the 2 countries. He will do his best to help you speak at the next World Conference and completely ban the capture of Murloc slaves. Gion directly revealed his family background. Odoheim wanted to step forward and say something, but Neptune stopped him and shook his head to stop it. Shirahoshi in the corner saw this scene and wondered, Why did my father stop my mother from speaking? King Adolf hasn't spoken yet. How can mother express her opinion? Big Shark Star understood. At the same time, he guessed, if my guess is correct, my mother's personality should be that she wants to agree. But it is precisely because of King Adolf's strength that Marine had to come to the bottom of the sea and bow her head. Otherwise, they would not come, and they would not think highly of us. Shirahoshi nodded and looked at Adolf with a vague understanding. Negotiation? Do you know what good things you are thinking of? Do you think I will agree? Do you think we will still go to the so-called World Conference? Marine is so close to coming out to destroy our Fishman Island. How do you expect to rebuild the friendship between the two countries? Adolf also laughed. Did he think he was as easy to talk to as Neptune? Go back and wait. I will take revenge on Malinfando after I finish dealing with the celestial dragons. I will use you to tell the whole world that the fishmen cannot be offended, and it will be difficult to deal with them if they are offended. His words made Gion sweat profusely. There is no room for such rhetoric, so what else is there to negotiate? However, the reason why the Warring States period sent her here was because of her Grandmaster Geisha skills, entertaining rosy guests, and luring out all the pirates, not Marine, who was particularly tough. To put it simply, he is good at using color to obtain information, and he is very good at subduing others. There is no other way. The three generals are caught. Maybe they will be killed together with the Tianlong people. How can you not accept it? Chapter 64 Race War, Endless Killing of More Than 1 Billion. Hahaha. Hody suppressed his smile, and if he hadn't restrained himself, he would have laughed wildly. But he must exercise restraint before the king he respected. Marine, you didn't send anyone to negotiate before the war started, and you didn't come when our fishmen were discriminated against. Now that the war is over and we've been defeated in the bottom of the sea, do you know that we're here to negotiate? It's a pity it's too late. Everything is caused by your own hands. You are the ones who want to destroy the Fishman Island. Exterminate the Fishman race. All of this is your choice. Next we will seize your right to sail on the sea, completely block you on the islands, and then kill all of you humans one island at a time. Hody's eyes were bloodshot and full of revengeful madness. Gion looked ugly. As a soldier who had lived on a ship for a long time, she knew the importance of a ship all too well. Losing the boat means losing the right to navigate. If the people on the boat fall into the sea, they will only be swallowed by the waves and die of exhaustion before reaching the next island. Huh. Adolf raised an eyebrow and looked. Hody felt as if he was struck by lightning, and he quickly knelt down on one knee and bowed his head in respect. I'm sorry, Your Majesty Poseidon. I was too excited. Adolf waved him aside. Yes. Hody turned his head respectfully without any trace of unwillingness. Your Majesty Poseidon, Marine did make an extremely stupid decision, but didn't it cause no damage to Fishman Island? You defeated Fishman Island without even seeing it, but it made you famous as Poseidon. The bounty of 5.6 billion exceeds that of One Piece Roger, and is far higher than the great pirates such as Whitebeard and Kaido. This battle defeated 3 great generals, including the commander of the Knights of God. What a character it is, the world will be fully aware of it, and it will also leave a mark in history. Gion was respectful and admiring. Hody's words made her understand the importance of her mission. This is not a question of redeeming the 3 generals, but whether Marine can continue to sail the sea. That's also due to my strength, so it should be right. Adolf was slightly interested and proud. There was no way, otherwise he wouldn't know how to let those 3 go back reasonably. Relying on rescue? Haha. When Gion saw Adolf's interest, his attention changed, and he immediately increased his intensity. Not to mention, there are many female officers in Marine who admire you, and there are even sisters on my ship discussing it. Although we are enemies, everyone particularly admires and worships men who defend their homeland, let alone those who resist the celestial dragons. Not only is he a responsible hero, he is also a legendary dream mermaid. Men are particularly yearning for legendary mermaids, and girls are also attracted to male mermaids. Worshipping Gion, the words are vaguely deviating in the direction of lust. The corners of Adolf's mouth curled up slightly, and his eyes were no longer so sharp and powerful. The Fishman Island and humanity do not have to fight to the death. I said that as long as the Fishman race develops itself and strives to have children, with a population of 5 billion, the world will calm down and listen to our voices. Gion's pupil shrank, a population of 5 billion. Facing such a huge race, they had no chance of winning. How do people treat me? How do I treat others? This is my way of treating people, and it is also the way of treating people on Fishman Island. We hope to live in peace with all races, but you treat us like fish, capture us as slaves at will, and even kill us all. All we can do is resist. At the end of the war, all of you humans will be killed, because this world is the world of the sea. And we, the fishmen, will kill more than 1 billion, or even 2 billion or 3 billion. Adolf said slowly. Gion's heart trembles. I feel real fear, and my soul trembles. It's not fear of Adolf's strength, but genocide. More than 1 billion or 2 billion people died. What 3 generals? What marine navigation rights? This is a problem of human extinction. Once the endless war begins, it will be a decades-long racial war, with corpses floating everywhere in the sea. This is what I don't want to see, and I don't think it's what you want to see either. Adolf looked at Gion, his plain words filled with endless terror. Of course, we can get along well with each other. Why should we have a meaningless war? In fact, it is only a small part of the human race that treats Fishman Island excessively. Pirates, nobles, these evil garbage. They treat humans themselves just as cruelly. These people do not represent the entire human race. Gion said quickly. Yes, she was scared, really scared. Anyone with a brain can understand that the fishmen are hiding under the sea to develop and reproduce. Is there anything they can do? There is nothing they can do. Even if someone is caught on the surface of the sea, it is a very rare case and cannot affect the whole situation at all. And the deeper the darkness is buried and the suppressed hatred, the more terrifying revenge will burst out. Not to mention Gion, Neptune, Odoheim, and Jinbei were all scared. I have never thought about it so deeply. If you continue to be treated unfairly, hatred and revenge will slowly evolve into a war between races. It is not impossible. This outcome must be avoided, no matter what. Even Hody was shocked. But so what? Even if all humans are killed, it was their humans who started it. Adolf turned his eyes away and immediately converged. Your Majesty Poseidon, I will definitely tell the Sengoku Fleet Admiral and the world government to completely improve their relations. Gion said cautiously. Huh? What gives you the illusion that I will be friendly with you? Adolf tilted his head slightly in confusion. Didn't you say that? Gion was stunned. What are you misunderstanding? I want to eliminate the world government and rule the world. As long as world government is gone and Marine is gone, don't I have the final say on all the so-called conflicts and discrimination? Adolf looked at her like a fool. Me? What? Gion opened his eyes wide and his brain failed to function. For this war, 3,287 Murloc soldiers sacrificed their lives. Do you think it's okay to just flatter them? That they can make peace? No. They made me understand that world government must be eliminated to end this. Adolf decided. Chapter 65 5 Elders, in the Warring States period. Wait a minute. This is not Marine's will. We are willing to take responsibility for them. Compensation of 1 million Baileys for each person? Gion said quickly. War reparations? Yes. It's only 1 million Baileys. Do you think Fishman Island can't provide you with a pension? Adolf said with disdain. Gion gritted his teeth. 5 million belly. 5 million berry for each person, and another 30 billion berry for compensation. A total of 46.435 billion berry. The promise mentioned before is still valid, and Marine can also agree to one condition for you. You said all that. Don't you just want me to put those 3 back? 10 billion belly for a general sounds like a lot, but it only takes 4.5 days to earn gold. Adolf really looks down on a mere 40 billion belly. A Marine warship is only 100 million Baileys, and can build 464 warships, which is worth the heads of 10 Whitebeards. This is the greatest sincerity that Marine can show. Gion almost prayed. I want to execute the celestial dragons. What did the 5 elders say? Adolf asked. This is Marine's own decision, without consulting the world government. Gion lowered his head slightly. I see. No wonder you are so picky. Adolf squinted slightly, guessing the cracks between the Warring States period and the world government. It's normal. If things happen like this for a good-for-nothing Tianlong, how can you not have any thoughts in your heart? If the person is really put back, there will also be a rift between the 5 elders and Marine. Although they have merit in rescuing them, they are 3 high-end combatants. But have you asked 5 of them? If it were him, he would have something in mind. Your Majesty Poseidon, if you have any conditions, Marine will try our best to fulfill them for you. Gion said. Condition? Adolf looked at Gion up and down. He was young and had a mature charm. He was quite plump and had the height of a general. It matched his body type very well, and he might be very nourishing to play with. But, oh, what can you do for me? What can you decide? You are nothing in front of the celestial dragons. Go back. If you can't see the money before the execution, the 3 of them will be the ones after the Tianlong people. Adolf issued an ultimatum. Yes. Gion was overjoyed. Although Marine was humiliated, she came to pay compensation and beg for mercy. What happened to the humiliation? Anyway, the matter was done. Oh, what a pity. Adolf looked at Gion's twisted back with regret. As a young man, he is at the age when he is full of curiosity about the opposite sex. As long as he is beautiful, he will not reject him. Of course he wants to keep him and practice swordsmanship over and over again. After all, Fishman Island is just about to expand its population. As king, Of course, he must lead by example. It's not too much to fill the Dragon Palace city with beauties in the harem, right? But Gion's strength is not weak, and he is in the Marine camp, so it is difficult to instigate rebellion. There are many secrets around him, and he has to restrain himself even if his penis is itchy and swollen. You can't just copy Shanghai Tower stones and hang them on the wall, right? Prepare another red candle? We will count up the families of soldiers who died in the war, and provide each person with a pension of 5 million Baileys. In addition, national welfare benefits will be given to them first, as well as monthly subsidies. Whoever deducts will be executed. Adolf gave stern orders. A state-of-the-art marine warship or a pacifist costs 100 million Baileys. The pension is 5 million, equivalent to 1/20th, which is very high for ordinary soldiers, not to mention various domestic priority policies and subsidies. It's His Majesty Poseidon. Ministers were replied. Jinbei and Hody showed smiles on their faces. They are the real bottom fighters. On the other hand, Neptune, the left and right ministers and others have lived in Dragon Palace City for a long time and are too far from the ground. How can they understand the sadness of ordinary people? I will go to sea next. You will complete the tasks I assigned as normal. You are not allowed to disclose it to anyone else. Adolf said. Yes. After they left the Dragon King's palace, Adolf extended the seawater to wrap himself with armed domineering, hiding himself in the seawater, and swam towards the sea silently. His whereabouts are related to the safety of the Fishman Island, the actions of the world government, the captured prisoners, and even some other Murlocs on the island who have ulterior motives. Before the rear area is stabilized, it cannot be disclosed at will. Adolf. Damn fish. How dare he? How dare he? The god of scientific defense was furious and threw the newspaper on the ground. Several others also took deep breaths and tried to hold back their tempers. Marihoya only saw this newspaper after it spread throughout the sea. It is completely aimed at us. The environmental martial god looked at the newspaper with a cold look. The people below only knew about it after seeing the newspaper. How could they dare to take the newspaper and report such a fatal thing to the top? But they didn't expect that Mary Joa didn't distribute the newspaper at all, so there was a time lag. Now it's too late to stop it. That guy Morgans dares to report anything. Send out CP spies and deal with it. The legal martial god suppressed the murderous intention. The choice to hide things at first allowed Adolf to seize the opportunity. Now things are in trouble. The farming martial god frowned. They gave up reports that were beneficial to them and left the content of the reports in Adolf's hands. In this way, there is no need for debate to prove it. People will believe whatever is written in the newspaper. Especially the execution of the celestial dragons directly shakes their authority. The world government is no longer supreme, and the celestial dragons are no longer mysterious and noble. Let's discuss how to solve it, said the old financial warrior. If it wasn't on the bottom of the sea and destroyed together with their entire island, why would it be such a headache? The troublesome point is that it's at the bottom of the sea, and it's still under Mary Joa, across the Red Continent. Bruno is coming soon, but it's not yet certain whether he can reach Fishman Island directly. It's too dangerous to take a boat. If they continue to plant explosives in the undersea channel, they will die wherever they go. I doubt this is a trap to attract us. Is it a conspiracy to have to go? Damn it. It is no longer realistic to destroy the Fishman Island. Even if the entire island is destroyed, they will only survive elsewhere on the seabed and cannot be exterminated. Especially that guy Adolf. No one can kill him. It's really tricky. The underwater world under the Red Earth continent. The more the 5 elders discussed, the more uncomfortable they became. If you go, it will be easy to kill people. If you die, you will lose blood. Anyway, they are ready to abandon the island. If you don't go, then there will be a public execution. The myth will be shattered. This is equivalent to the public execution of One Piece Roger, with the whole world paying attention. It is no longer a matter of 1 or 2 celestial dragons, but the authority of the entire world government, the authority of the collective celestial dragons. Even the celestial dragons who were in charge of the world's power were publicly executed, the significance of which was unimaginable. Bulu bulu bulu. What? Marine actually contacted Fishman Island without permission? And he reached an agreement with Adolf to redeem the 3 generals for more than 40 billion? The legal martial god lost his composure. You didn't even notify us. Are you going to break away from the control of the world government? The god of science and defense stomped his cane in anger. Did Gion mention 2 world nobles? If it can be solved with money, it is a cost-effective way. The environmental martial god said with some expectations. No. Marine didn't mention it. Marine spy. Himph. Call and question warring states. Sengoku answered the phone. Can Marine prohibit the whole world, including the Draco, from capturing fishman slaves? Can it allow everyone, including the Draco, to release fishman slaves? Nothing can be decided, so what can we use to negotiate? Of course not. Remember the warring states period. Marine's rights were given by the world government. The blonde-haired farming martial god yelled forcefully. Imph. Then just figure out a way to solve the Tianlong people's problem by yourself. Sengoku gritted his teeth and retorted. In his current state, even the 5 elders should not offend him. Chapter 66 Brain Fruit E Vegapunk. Punk Hassad Island, located in the New World, is an island belonging to the world government. It is the first island that the second-generation tour group landed on after entering the New World. The current Punk Hassad Island is not yet the polar opposites of ice and fire, nor is it an uninhabited island after the research accident. Caesar, you are conducting research on biological and chemical weapons again. He is over 10 meters tall and is as tall as a giant, but his head is like a hairy hot air balloon. At the same time, the tongue protrudes from the mouth and reaches all the way to the crotch, seemingly self-sufficient. Vegapunk, only weapons of mass murder are favored by the world government, and they are also the weapons that big pirates need, so that they can defraud more research funds. Don't the fishmen in the sea give the world government a headache? As long as I'm here, those guys will all turn into dead fish, blah 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 blah. Caesar Courant laughed wildly, proud of his masterpiece. It seems that the Fishman Island has become a place of extinction, and countless fishmen have been poisoned to death. Vegapunk, what research have you been conducting recently? That dragon on the island is too noisy. Caesar Courant asked as he put his head on Vegapunk's head. Artificial devil fruit. Vegapunk took out a box and revealed the strange fruit inside. What? Caesar Kalong's eyes almost burst out. There is no flaw at all. Is it really successful? Fish fruit, phantom beast species, blue dragon form. But why is it pink? This is a failure. Sure enough, the research data is still too little. It would be great if there were more Kaido blood factors. Vegapunk sighed, unwilling to be a perfectionist. What? I thought it was successful. Caesar Courant breathed a sigh of relief, almost losing his position as the #1 scientist. Swish. Suddenly, a marine screen appeared on the wall and said anxiously, Vegapunk, we captured an encrypted signal, coming from the island. The target is on the 2nd floor of the Research Institute on the right side of the island. The huge head is very eye-catching. You can find it as long as you go there. Not good. The communication was discovered. When Violet saw the image, she was immediately panicked and at a loss. Adolf's heart froze, and he immediately hung up the communication. Having realized that there is no need to hide, he raised his head and jumped towards the target direction, turning into a black shadow javelin and flying, kicking out cracks and depressions on the spot. The mermaid tribe has long and slender fishtails that swim quickly in the sea. When they reach land, they can only stand and walk on their tail fins, or jump with their strong tails, which makes it very inconvenient for them to move. Therefore, you can use floating bubbles and then swim with the tail fin. Just like Neptune's pet blue whale and Shirahoshi's pet shark, they swim in the air with bubbles like swimming rings, and can even swim thousands of meters above the ground. The Neptune family are all mermaids, and they used floating bubbles when they went to marry a Joya. No, their target is Vegapunk. Call for support. Marine shouted in panic. What? The target is just Vegapunk. Don't you know my uncle's research talent? Caesar Courant was unhappy. Let me see the communication over there. Vegapunk came to the keyboard-like instrument and tapped. All Marines protect the Research Institute immediately. The enemy is coming soon. The Marine Lieutenant General stationed at the station immediately took command. He has been an elite Lieutenant General for many years. As an extremely important scientific institution, it is equipped with more than 10,000 security guards, including General Kizaru before. But Kizaru is still squatting down there. The other end of the signal is at the bottom of the sea, Fishman Island. Although the communication has been interrupted, the source was still found based on previous signal clues. Poseidon Adolf. Could it be that he already knows that I have developed weapons of mass destruction against Murlocs, and is here to find me? Is he just targeting you because your brain is so obvious? Spies. There must be spies. Caesar Courant immediately thought of the killer weapon he had just developed, and hid behind Vegapunk in horror. The kind of fierce man who left all 3 of Marine's combat powers at the bottom of the sea. He was really panicking. What? Poseidon Adolf. Call for help immediately, and get out of here as soon as possible. The Lieutenant General was even more panicked. What experience? He was only a young sailor for 648 months. Bong bong. While they were panicking, the ground exploded. Smoke and dust filled the air, and a figure appeared faintly. He doesn't have an exaggerated body shape of 7 or 8 meters, but his body is condensed with a substantial domineering energy that distorts the atmosphere. The strands of water flow like tulle, reflecting the blue waves, which are the unknown and mysterious from the deep sea. Looking at it this way, it really looks like a dreamlike existence in the legend. Such a big head is really easy to find. A scientist who claims to be 500 years ahead of the world. Can you help solve the lighting problem for Fishman Island? Adolf came out of the smoke and noticed Vegapunk at a glance. Gudu. The Marines who were surrounded all backed away nervously and swallowed secretly. Run quickly, we'll hold him back. Don't be afraid if Marine comes forward. Even if you are powerful, you are just one person. There are more than 10,000 of us. The Lieutenant General shouted with all his strength. Unfortunately, I have no intention of playing. Adolf's eyes narrowed, Conqueror's eyes flashed out. Boom buzz. Plop, plop, plop. The invisible force turned into dark red lightning, sweeping the entire place like a storm of destruction. Within a radius of 10 miles, Marines fell down in pieces, no matter the rank of lieutenant, colonel, major general, or even ordinary lieutenant general, they all fainted. The eyes he opened were all pale, with no pupils visible. How is it possible? Conquerors who can't even resist the lieutenant general who masters domineering. The remaining elite lieutenant general's face was full of horror, and he almost peed with fear. Even a pirate like Shanks who roams the sea can own top-notch conquerors, let alone him who has ambitions to conquer the world. Even if he has not truly become the master of the world, it still does not affect his imitation of Qin Shi Huang, sweeping the world across the world, and bringing all races within the 4 seas into submission. Be the world's first unified emperor. Create a true country and family and end this absurd era of chaos. What are Shanks compared to that? Waiting for the gears of destiny to guide that ridiculous savior? If the strength is too different, the number of people will be meaningless. Adolf raised his hand. Armed iron block. The lieutenant general's face changed drastically, his muscles subconsciously tightened, and even his armed domineering aura covered his whole body. Mermaid karate, shui fist. Boom. Hitting it casually, the atmospheric plane was hit hard, and the water was blasted out like a particle cannon. In the lieutenant general's eyes, the fist gradually disappeared, replaced by a light blue color filling his eyes, until his entire body disappeared into water particles. Everything in its path was destroyed, and even the research institute behind it blasted out a huge hole with a diameter of 5 meters. A few kilometers away, you can see the deep crater blasted out of the mountain opposite. The ground has also been plowed into a semi-arc-shaped wet ravine. Next time, remember to run directly. Don't believe in the iron block. It's an illusion. As he said that, he passed by the fallen lieutenant general, his eyes always staying on Vegapunk. I heard that the light on Fishman Island comes from the Sun Tree Eve. Do you want me to solve the lighting problem? It is really difficult to go below 10,000 meters under the sea, but you can try it. But scientific research is very expensive. Do you have enough money? Vegapunk was not afraid, but was thinking with interest. As much as you want. If you want to refer to a specific number, it would be 1 trillion a year. Adolf said directly. How much? 1 trillion? Caesar Courant, who was hiding behind, was instantly stunned. Chapter 67, Scientific Defense, Martial God Saint Satan. 1 trillion? 1 trillion? 1 trillion. I don't know how to spend it. How many ladies can I find? Can't I live in Happy Street forever? Hee hee. Caesar Courant's imagination is full of beauty. Although he is an evil scientist who advocates killing weapons, he is also a sexy pervert who can defraud Big Mom's research funds. Happy Street? No problem. I can even consider including foot massage and medical insurance. This is my invitation to speak. Adolf's lips curled up in sincerity. That's great, wait. Can you really come up with 1 trillion? The pile would be bigger than a mountain. Caesar Courant reacted. How many sunken treasures do you think are hidden under this sea? How many mineral resources are there? How many marine fisheries? If you control the world's transportation system, can you control the flow of all goods? Can you control all cross-border transactions? Even all kingdoms? Even the right to navigate the sea? 1 trillion? Is that much? Adolf narrowed his eyes slightly. Although there was nothing on Fishman Island now, it did not affect his ability to blow. And this is not an industry that is difficult to achieve, but is within reach. I can only blame the royal family for being too useless. Thump. Caesar Courant's heart skipped a beat. He couldn't bear it any longer. He knelt down in front of Adolf and rubbed his face against it. Your Majesty Poseidon. No, Daddy Poseidon. I, Caesar Courant, will go through fire and water for you. No matter what killer weapon you want, I will research it for you. From today on, my name is Adolf Caesar Courant. Caesar Courant unscrupulously voted on the spot. Vegapunk didn't rush over to hug you. Do you know what 1 trillion means to us scientists? 1 trillion, that's 1 trillion. The total gold in the world government sky is only 1.7 trillion. Caesar Courant immediately shouted, dissatisfied with Vegapunk. He has no respect for his adoptive father at all. This is His Majesty the King, who includes foot massage and medical insurance. He must be deeply loved by the people. As long as there are sufficient research funds, I can join. Vegapunk said it didn't matter. His position is his own science, and he does not care about the good or evil of the forces he joins. Even though he knew the darkness of world government and knew that world government massacred O'Hare Island, he still joined world government instead of helping his friend's revolutionary army. I will also find my conscience due to contact, just like designing a backdoor for Bonnie and suddenly whitewashing. It really has no professional ethics. Well, there are too many brain problems in this world, as long as they can be used to their advantage. Welcome to join. Then let's go before their reinforcements arrive. Adolf grinned and suppressed his excitement. The only factor that might fail his plan was solved. Boo-hoo, boom-boo, boom-boo. I can't wait to go to the legendary Fishman Island. Caesar Courant laughed excitedly. Adolf was about to turn around and leave when he suddenly noticed something. Vegapunk, Caesar Courant, where do you want to go? A strange magic circle appeared, with black lightning and thunderbolts, and a huge body appeared in the center of the magic circle. It has 8 sharp legs like a spider, huge horns like a gyuki, a burning flame belt hanging behind its shoulders, holding a wooden staff, and its whole body is filled with a powerful and strange sense of oppression. The highest power in the world government is one of the 5 elders, the god of scientific defense, Ijego Lucia, Satan Saint. Panting slightly, he looked down at Adolf with his taller body. Five elders showed up in person. Caesar Cullen was so shocked that he couldn't even speak. Adolf's heart froze, and he made a decision immediately, wanting to take the 2 of them away by force. Insects that do not fear the gods will be cursed. Evil Eye. A strange and fierce light shone in Saint Satan's eyes. Adolf, who was about to catch the 2 of them, felt something, turned around and waved his arms, blocking the invisible attack with his armed, domineering force. Devil fruits are really troublesome abilities, Adolf said with some fear. It's invisible to the naked eye, and if it wasn't for advanced knowledge, it would probably be hit. With the mermaid's mobility on the ground, it is impossible to take them 2 away in front of me. The black flames burned, and his eyes were filled with substantial madness. The body that was originally a giant expanded again, like a spider ghost walking on the earth. The sharp tarsal bones of the 8 legs show a strange color, giving people an extremely dangerous and deadly feeling, as if there is a poison attached. It itself is like the incarnation of death, and everything it passes by is deathly silence. The level of danger is far greater than before. Then let's take you away together. Teleporting all the way from the Holy Land consumes a lot of energy, right? It's really hard work. Going all the way to give someone a head? Adolf looked at Saint Satan with a cold look. This is not the sea. With his state in full swing, Saint Satan has made up his mind to take this opportunity to deal with Adolf. On land, this is the best opportunity. The 8-legged sharp poisonous stingers blew up a death storm, and ravines and dents penetrated the entire land. The research institute behind it was like a toy house assembled, instantly turned into countless fragments, and a large number of twisted steel bars were exposed. The mermaid's movement on the ground is restricted, not to mention that Saint Satan deliberately restricted his movement space just to hit him with one blow. That being the case, let's come. Mermaid karate, the sea collapses and dominates the sea. The conquerors wrapped in dark red lightning gathered on his right hand, and a drop of translucent water secreted from his palm, seeming to carry the weight of the entire sea. The blue water waves and dark red lightning echoed each other, roaring with a devastating blow. In front of it, the world becomes dim. Flying out of the island at a 45-degree angle, even the clouds in the sky blasted out a huge hole with a diameter of more than a kilometer, which continued to spread with the impact. Huh. Not in the sea. The power is so much weaker. Adolf looked at his fists and frowned, then looked up at Saint Satan. The stumped limbs and broken arms, which originally showed Kamui, seemed to be broken by the poisonous sting storm that was going to destroy everything, as if the fingers were suddenly broken off and thrown to the ground. Saint Satan himself fell completely twisted in the ruins, and his shoulders were completely penetrated from the front to the side, showing a scorched black hole. The huge gyuki horn on the left half disappeared, and half of his face was covered in blood and flesh. The huge wound even included the heart. 1/3 of the heart was destroyed, and it was completely like a dead corpse. Ah, that's too exaggerated. Can humans really create this kind of destructive power? Caesar Courant, who was hiding behind the ruins, opened his mouth in disbelief, his eyes almost bursting out, and his whole person fell into horror. He suddenly reacted, no, the 5 elders, the highest authority in the world government, are going to be killed? Adolf, your strength? Doesn't it depend on the sea water's ability to restrain people with abilities? Damn fish. Saint Satan looked at Adolf with unblinking eyes, and his voice was so weak that he could not even speak because his throat was broken. Jiji, ha. Adolf came to Saint Satan with an unbearable smile that was extremely suppressed. His face was twisted, and his back was arched. But he couldn't help it, so he laughed wildly and taunted loudly. Idiot, I'm going to slowly test it out with you. Of course, in a battle, you have to go all out from the beginning. You have to have the mentality of killing the opponent. Next, I will use you to lead the world government's hidden high wars to the bottom of the sea one by one. No, as long as they are let out from Maria Joya, I can solve them one by one. Then the world will be me, Poseidon Adeo. Before Adolf finished his crazy words about ruling the world, Saint Satan made a sound of surprise. Catch you. It's not in vain that I fall in the ruins and act with you. Chapter 68. Come and act. Come and lie. The huge hand like a giant grabbed Adolf, who was very close at hand. With the mermaid's mobility on the ground, there is no way to avoid such a sudden action. Adolf's face changed drastically. What? He quickly tried to swing his fishtail and jump away, but it was too late. The slender fishtail allowed Saint Satan to grab it. How could he look weak? Adolf, how do you feel about losing to me the same way you dealt with Sakaski? I admit that you are a very dangerous man. Your wisdom and strength, especially combined with your identity as a mermaid, will bring unbearable losses to the world government if you continue. But it's still too tender. In the ruins, Saint Satan stood up like a normal person. Even though he was a 5 elders, he couldn't help but grin. At the same time, he looked at Adolf, who was holding on tightly with a more cruel look. A strange color was released from his eyes, and he suppressed Adolf with his devil fruit ability, completely sealing off the possibility of escape. And he himself was entangled in ghost flames, and all the injuries he had received before seemed to be just phantoms. In just 3 seconds, the life-threatening injuries that even shattered his heart were fully recovered. This is how he fights. He doesn't use his domineering power to resist, but uses his own weird recovery power to resist. Even the top powerhouses in the sea, armed hockey and conqueror's hockey, are limited, and even extreme use of high-frequency hockey will make them feel tired and mentally exhausted. On the contrary, physical strength recovers quickly due to strong physical fitness. If you have strong willpower, you can still squeeze out a few drops even if you are exhausted. Huh? Are you desperate? Saint Satan frowned as he looked at the caught Adolf. Adolf, who was still trying to escape just now, stopped moving after being caught and didn't even struggle anymore. Now that you know what happened at the bottom of the sea, you should know that I let Sakaski catch me on purpose, right? Adolf, who looked down and couldn't see his expression clearly, was grinning so much that he pinched the base of his ears. My body is shaking. This time I am so excited that I can't control it. Do you want to say that you let me catch you on purpose this time? Even if you can secrete water and control the moisture in the atmosphere, after all, you are not a devil fruit user, nor is it seawater. It is not a fatal threat to people with abilities. Saint Satan is very unhappy. As a celestial dragon who aloofly controls the world, he regards humans as ants. Even if there are no more ants, he will immediately breed new ones. He hates this attitude of being treated like idiots. Is the only weakness of devil fruit users only the seawater? Adolf raised his head and looked at him with a grin. At the same time, her palms were stretched out in front of his face. Could it be? Saint Satan looked at that hand with eyes split open. He noticed. The gold rings on the 5 fingers. Could it be? That's right, it's Hylu stone. As Adolf finished speaking, it was too late for Saint Satan to withdraw his hand. In other words, it was already too late when Saint Satan caught him. How could he escape at such a close distance? The 5 fingers clenched into a fist and squirmed. The sound of friction between gold and stone was like the sound of the devil of death pouring into Saint Satan's soul. In just one move, the gold skin on the ring was wiped off, revealing the original color. No need to guess anymore. Why do you need to guess when you can see something with the naked eye? Hylu, sure. Saint Satan lost his voice. But you knew it was too late? The direct contact with the seafloor stone made it impossible to use the ability instantly. After returning from the phantom beast species to human beings, even under the restraint of the seafloor stone, the strength was weak. Even if you adapt through long-term exposure, it does not mean that you can completely ignore the effect of seafloor stone. Adolf, you hate. How can I accept it? How can I accept this fact? The canthus of Satan's holy eyes is about to split, and the calmness of having everything under control is broken, and the face is distorted to the extreme. It was obviously him who caught him and solved the crisis that the world government would face, but the situation turned around at the next moment. It was Adolf who caught him and plunged the world government into a more terrifying crisis, even himself. That's such a pity. Reality is so cruel and changeable. In order to catch me and prevent me from escaping into the sea, you put down your 5 elders' dignity and acted like me. I also wanted to catch you quickly to avoid a long battle that would drag on one support after another, which would be troublesome. With your resilience, it's not a problem to delay it for a few days and nights, but it's a pity. We all want to end the fight quickly, so we'll lock the situation. Adolf's mouth was almost crooked when he smiled. It's so unpredictable that everything in the world is so unpredictable. At the same time, he grabbed Saint with all his strength. not to mention Hailu Shi's restraint. His wrists would be crushed by him. He raised his left hand, bit a sea stone ring on his index finger with his teeth, and pulled out the finger. Bang bang. The heavy fist of his left hand struck Saint Satan in the abdomen. The Saint of Sartan wanted to carry it hard, but the sea tower stone made it difficult for him to lift it. Adolf's punch was much heavier than the stone and could completely collapse a mountain. Yikes! His gallbladder was shattered, and his body instinctively retched and retched. Poof! Adolf spat out. He spat the sea stone ring into his mouth, then punched his jaw with his left hand, forcefully forcing Saint Satan to swallow it. How dare you humiliate me? Humiliate the highest power in the world government. Saint Satan's eyes were bloodshot, like a man-hungry beast going crazy. He knew that what he had eaten was a seafloor stone, and he also knew Adolf's purpose, but he couldn't accept using such a humiliating method. Don't blame me, who made me a young man with weak experience. I have to do this just to be on the safe side. Adolf grinned and then pushed Saint Satan to the ground. The terrifying power made it difficult for the weak Saint Satan to resist, and he could only be forced to lie on the ground. What do you want to do? Do you still want to humiliate me? I'm not interested in men, but I can help you find true love who is interested in you. He fumbled for a stone needle from his belt and pierced the back of Saint Satan's spine. That's right, Hailu stone needle. Finger-thick sea stone needle. Boom. Then with a heavy blow, the Hailu stone needle was fixed in the spinal cord. The toughness of the skin and muscles completely buried the needle, and only a small hole with blood beads could be seen on the surface. And its neck bone was pierced by the sea tower stone and stuck. Immediately afterwards, Shanghai stone needles were nailed to the lumbar vertebrae and coccyx vertebrae respectively, and they were nailed into the bones and passed through them, completely inside the body. These three places were nailed with Shanghai tower stone, which is almost like a waist. With the strength of Saint Isaac, it is not easy to die, but the pain is extremely severe. It is a pain that directly attacks the central nervous system of the brain, which is more torturous than cramps. Life is worse than death. Damn you, brat. Did Sakaski and the others let you be imprisoned like this? Saint Satan gritted his teeth, feeling desperate, without the supreme authority that usually held the power of the world. Don't be too curious. Soon you will see it with your own eyes, and with them. Adolf smiled, as bright as the sun, but also with the mystery of the deep sea. Even if you cut off your hand, dig out your kidneys and gouge out your eyes, you can recover immediately. Doesn't it mean that you can extract unlimited bloodline factors and create a fantasy beast breeding factory? How could he be willing to kill such a big treasure? But what a demon it was in the eyes of Saint Sartan. He was afraid of the mountain falling in front of him without changing his expression. He was wrong. He shouldn't be here. Chapter 69. It's your turn to be scared this time, Adolf. Let's go to Fishman Island. Adolf turned to look at Vegapunk and Caesar Courant. Yes, yes. Caesar Courant was frightened. If it was awe and longing for financial resources and strength before, now it is really fearful. Unexpectedly, even the highest authority in the world was captured alive. Looking at Saint, who was dragging him like a dog behind him, Caesar Courant's trembling voice was filled with uncontrollable fear and excitement. Even my scalp is numb. I never expected this ending. Vegapunk was covered in cold sweat. He couldn't even imagine the two acting together. Caesar Courant, Vegapunk, if you can save me, I can grant the two of you the right to become celestial dragons. No matter what kind of taboo you are researching, I can fully support it. Saint Satan had no choice but to ask for help from the two of them. Stop dreaming. I am loyal to His Majesty Poseidon. How can I possibly save you? Give up and wait for death. You are hopeless. Caesar Courant mocked with a grimace. Vegapunk, with your wisdom, you should know that continuing is a dead end. The size of the world government is not something you can shake. Saint Satan also doesn't expect Caesar Kulang. What can the gas fruit power do? I'm sorry, I can't do anything in this situation. Not to mention he offered me research funding that I couldn't refuse. Vegapunk refused. Super wisdom told him to use superpower quickly, but he doesn't have super strength. If he dares to mess up in this situation, his head will explode on the spot. Bang! Adolf punched Saint Satan on the head, causing blood to flow from his head. The fruit's ability was suppressed and could not be recovered. Stop dreaming. It would be more practical to ask them to let you go. Adolf pressed Saint with both hands and drove at full speed. Don't look at the seafloor stone nailed to it. Whitebeard had a hole in his chest and half of his head was blown off so hard. As for the effect of Hailu stone on ability users, at his level, it can only suppress the fruit's ability. Hateful. Saint Satan gritted his teeth. He had never thought since he was born that he would one day beg for mercy, especially when he became the Five Elders and took charge of the power of the world. Devil fruit is really a convenient thing. How long does it take to teleport from as far away as Mariajoya for a minute? I want to see it. Adolf looked at Saint Satan with envy. I can give you 10 phantom beast species to choose from and give you the entire New World Sea area. All countries in the New World belong to you, regardless of whether they are franchise countries or not. Saint Satan was carried and made conditions. You think I will believe what you say? Adolf remained indifferent and continued on his way. Wow. Adeo suddenly noticed something and immediately raised the Satan Saint in his hand to block it in front. Boom. The dark object streaked across the 10,000-meter-long sky, like a meteorite flying from the sky. With dark red lightning, it accurately landed on the body of the human shield Saint Satan, and at the same time exploded with terrifying power. The sky and the earth were red, and the blazing fire exploded suddenly, swelling and swallowing in all directions. Saint Satan, Adolf, and even Vegapunk and Caesar Courant were all submerged in the fire. The terrifying firelight distorts the atmosphere, like the dazzling sun in the sky. Hahaha, what did you hit just now? I was so dazzled that I saw 5 elders, Satan, standing in front of me. Garp laughed heartily with a hint of doubt in life. This is not a chasing game where you are chasing your grandson with cannonballs. With the blessing of top-notch domineering power, both impact and explosion power have reached the point where they can't be increased. Even the airflow generated by the explosions spread like a storm. Garp. At this time, Saint Satan was in a sorry state. His suit was in tatters, his abdomen was blasted with diffuse explosion marks, and even his abdominal muscles were twisted. But the surprise of redemption appeared on his face. At this moment, he really, crying. It's really the 5 elders, Satan Saint. Garp's eyes almost popped out. Although I don't take the Draconians as trash in my eyes, these are the 5 elders. It turned out to be 5 elders. Marine brought by Garp immediately panicked, and they beat 5 elders? Garp, what a coincidence. Could you please give way? Adolf put Saint Satan down slightly, his eyes slightly narrowed with danger. Garp, get him, Dash. We must not let him escape. Saint Satan's angry and crazy voice was squeezed out from between his teeth. Only then did Garp notice that Saint Satan was lifted up by the back of his neck, and the mermaid figure behind him recognized Adolf. I happened to be nearby when I received the call for help. I didn't expect it to be you. Even Saint Satan was caught by you. If you let you escape, it would be a big trouble. Adolf was annoyed. It was obvious that he had cleared the troops as quickly as possible and eliminated Saint Satan as quickly as possible, and then immediately headed towards the sea, and accidents happened one after another. Whether it's the gangster from the Valley of the Gods or the god of war who singled out the entire Beehive Island as a marine chasing Roger all over the world, he definitely has 2 skills. That being the case, my heart was pounding, and I suddenly looked at Vegapunk. He took out a Sea Tower stone needle from his waist with his left hand, wrapped it with armed hockey and conqueror's hockey at the same time, and shot it towards the huge head. No matter what tricks you have, how outrageous your fruit abilities are, Hylu Stone plus Domineering specializes in treating all the bells and whistles. Vegapunk felt instantly enveloped by death. As long as it hits, no matter how much precious knowledge is contained in the huge, hot air balloon-like head, it will turn into pale brains and explode. I won't let you succeed. Saint Sartin ignored his own pain and suddenly grabbed Adolf's wrist, even using all his domineering force. His eyes were filled with the madness that destroyed everything, and he grinned with revenge. This time it's your turn to be afraid, Adolf. Adolf's expression darkened. Chapter 70 Moral High Ground. Schwa. Garp immediately exploded and ejected like a cannonball. His sandbag-sized fists were waved down, and his top-notch weapons roared. The strong wind brought by it was like straw cutting flesh, and I could hardly open my eyes. Adolf once again raised his human shield, Saint Satan. Garp punched Saint Satan hard in the face. His nose was crooked, his jaw was dislocated, and his white beard was stained with blood. Damn it, you actually used Saint Satan as a human shield. Garp was annoyed. If he hadn't pulled back his strength at the end, Saint Satan would have been hit in the head by this punch. But he also took this opportunity to get closer and catch Saint Satan, hoping to take him back from Adolf. It was just that Adolf grabbed Satan's neck, Garp grabbed Satan's arm, and the two started a tug of war. Don't worry about me. Don't let him kill Vegapunk. You two idiots, why don't you just stay away? Satan Shang endured the pain of tearing his body, and blood foam flew from his mouth as he spoke. Those who want to achieve great things must be decisive at the most critical moment when choosing between gains and losses. Since Saint Sartan cannot be killed, simply give up the tug of war with Garp. Focus on core goals. A drop of water secreted from the palm of his hand, wrapped in top domineering energy, and he turned his hand and threw it towards Vegapunk. Mermaid Karate Ishuashin. In order to achieve a one-hit kill, not only the weapon color, but also the Conqueror's Entanglement is added, which can crush even a mountain. Schwa. In an instant, Bogart, who had always been invisible next to Garp, took action and chopped the drop of water into pieces with extremely terrifying sword skills. The world seemed to be divided at this moment. He raised his head slightly and stared sharply. Adolph's face darkened. There were too many people. Looking at Satan Saint, Garp, Bogart who rescued Vegapunk, and a group of sailors arriving. Adolf, although I don't know how you learned that Vegapunk is on this island, your purpose is not to get him, but to prevent us from getting him. Saint Satan knelt on the ground with his hands on the ground. The 3 sea-story stone needles on his back caused him excruciating pain, and it was difficult to control his limbs. Still looking up at Adolf full of revengeful pleasure, his cultivated, steady, and hideous expression was completely distorted. He was almost taken to the deep sea and faced a humiliation worse than death. With a population of 5 billion, spreading across the sea, and seizing navigation rights, if you think about it from a strategic perspective, there is no solution. The world government has no way to prevent what is happening under the sea, it can only watch. But as long as we break out of this thinking and obtain stronger power and more efficient killing weapons, even a population of 5 billion will be nothing more than a mass of fish or 5 billion slaves. This power is science. The strong desire to kill Vegapunk is greater than wanting to get him, the scientist who is 500 years ahead of the world. Saint Satan showed an extremely crazy expression, as if he was laughing wildly because of exposing Adolf, and his mentality was completely broken. Adolf's face was expressionless. Yes, he can do without Vegapunk, because his plan does not require high scientific power at all, but he cannot let others get it. Vegapunk, a user with brain fruit abilities, possesses very terrifying research talents. Bloodline factors, laser weapons, pacifists, artificial devil fruits, phantom beast species including paramecia, sea beast weapons, seraphim, the virgin flame that destroys countries and even wipes out entire islands. Each is an epic-making research technology. With his intelligence, is it difficult to develop a mass-produced Pacific pacifist? Is it even impossible to mass-produce the Jinbei model? The Holy Mother's flame washes the ground, and the seraphim encircles and suppresses them. The advantages of the fishmen in the sea are obvious, but when the world government possesses these scientific weapons, these advantages will disappear. So after briefly dealing with the Fishman Island incident, I found Vegapunk as soon as possible. If it can't be used by him, then kill. Unfortunately, he is in a hurry, and so is Marine. Even if it wasn't Garp, there must be other Marines fighting to cover the New World Marines' retreat. The 3 major generals were captured alive, and Zifa had asthma, so Garp was the best choice. For a mission like covering the retreat, it must be done as quickly as possible. The distress signal sent by Marine just now made him receive, and their original goal was here. Marine's most important scientific research base in the New World, the research institute where Vegapunk is located. It can be said that both sides are here for this. The analysis is correct, but Saint Satan, I only want to ask you one thing. If I block the sea transportation line, even if you develop the technology, can you manufacture it? Relying on the Red Earth continent to secretly carry it manually? It will be difficult to climb more than 50,000 meters. You won't even have food by then, and you are still doing it what research and production. Don't forget, the positions of Mary Joa and Fishman Island are at odds with each other on the Red Earth continent. They are at one point. Adolf also asked about his Achilles heel. Disadvantage? Who is the disadvantage? Saint Satan's face instantly darkened, extremely gloomy. Vegapunk, I admit that I wanted to kill you when I saw Garp and Bogart, because you are too much of a threat to the world. Adolf looks at Vegapunk. What, my threat to the world? Vegapunk opened his mouth and looked at Adolf incomprehensibly. You should know that the crimes committed by the world government and enslaving mankind are no longer enough examples of their heinous crimes. Genocide, national annihilation game, thousands of people died in an instant, just like O'Hara. They are the source of all evil. Garp and Bogart rarely attacked, and glanced at the struggling Saint Satan. Saint Satan stopped thinking about it, and reached out to grab his back, trying to pull out the sea tower stone needle. However, with his big body, he couldn't touch his back, let alone nail it completely into his body. Pull out the sea tower stone needle of the bone. The celestial dragons are the creators of the world. They should enjoy all privileges. How can they empathize with insects? His face was distorted due to central nervous system pain, but even so, his words were still natural. Yeah, they don't have empathy for others, so how can they consider the life and death of us people? If you serve such a world government, don't you give them the power to do evil? Vegapunk, do you think you are aiding the evildoers? Should you die? Garp was silent, Bogart was silenced, and Caesar was sweating. As long as he stands on the moral high ground, he is invincible. Who gives world government black spots? Saint Satan, why don't you die? Garp said in shock. Oh, Don't say such rude words to the 5 elders. A group of sailors beside them were so frightened that their hearts went into shock. Feel sorry. Vegapunk lowered his head in shame, the image of O'Hara burning lingering in his mind. But he did not join his friend Long's revolutionaries, but joined world government because of the research funds. Regardless of whether it was in the name of employment or something else, it was a fact to study for world government. Don't let him go on, Garp. Get him dash. Saint Satan saw the power of Adolph's words and immediately issued his order. Garp frowned in displeasure, but the 5 elders were here, and he didn't want to listen. He could only look at Adolph. Sorry, I can't let it go anymore. Poseidon, Broken Island slash. Adolph strikes first, with a knife in his right hand, and the water vapor in the atmosphere clings to him. At the same time, Conqueror's winds around him, slashing the ground from top to bottom. Crack, click, tear dash. The next second the island shook, and the island, which was 30 to 40 kilometers long, was like a cake, split in half. The cut was very thorough. Both the soil and the rocks were cut open, revealing a large, bottomless crack. The terrifying power is so inhuman. Just cut it off with a single blow. The sound of waves rolled in, filling the rift valley from both ends and turning it into an inland sea. Huh? Great swordsman? Bogart looked at Adolph in shock. Chapter 71. Old man Garp, haven't you eaten? Those who understand the realm of cutting iron and can perform flying slashes are considered swordsmen. Of course, this realm is not worth mentioning for their strength. But swordsmen are also divided into strong and weak, and Jantai is just the entry point. There is also the realm of cutting off everything in the world and finding your own path. This kind of thing can be called a great swordsman. And now, he actually sees the shadow of the great swordsman in Adolph? Isn't this kid too outrageous? He obviously doesn't even have a sword. Garp was exaggerated, and all his thoughts were reflected on his face. Are you working seriously? Don't let him jump into the sea and escape. The 3 Sakaskis are still in his hands. Damn it. Someone help me take out the sea tower stone from behind. Satan Shang was furious. He had no choice but to quickly take out the sea tower stone and do it himself. Garp is really unreliable. It's such a serious injury. The seafloor stone has completely pierced the spine. We need to have surgery quickly, otherwise we will be paralyzed for life. No, it's a miracle that we can still stand up now. The military doctor couldn't believe it. What kind of surgery? Quickly find a knife to cut the skin, and then pull out the sea tower stone. You don't need to judge. Satan Shang was annoyed. Is now the time for surgery? Damn it. Every time he moved, the pain hit his nerves, making life worse than death. By the way, there are those 3 boys from Sakaski. Garp finally remembered and looked at Adolph seriously. Although I don't want to help the Draco, I can't let you go now. Fist bone impact. The top-notch domineering fists are entangled, even 10,000 times harder than steel. With a punch in the air, domineering power was unleashed, and the color of black gold flashed across like the Milky Way, bright and eye-catching, and at the same time, it contained terrifying power. Don't make it sound like if you have more people, I will be defeated. Not only will I not be able to keep you, I will also kill Vegapunk. Poseidon and the impact of the sea. Adolph clenched his right arm into a fist, veins popped out, and he punched back with the same punch. A column of blue water shot out like a substance, surrounded by mist and vapor, and it was the color of a thunderbolt and a dark red electric light. The water on the entire island was pulled invisibly, and even the seawater in the distance was inexplicably turbulent, stirring up thousands of huge waves. If the swordsman understands the state of mind of cutting iron, he can cut with unrivaled edge. Then can't you understand the artistic conception of the sea? Even if you don't use the method of cutting, you can still be surrounded by water vapor, and every move carries the power of the sea. Especially after a life-and-death battle with the great swordsman Fegelin St. Garin, I gained the talent inscribed in his bloodline factor, and gained a deeper understanding of how to use stone from a mountain to attack jade. Boom! The 2 attacks seemed to span time and space, bursting out with destructive power like nuclear explosions, and even the entire island was shaken. On the earth, the second sun rises. But almost at the same time, a wave of air visible to the naked eye erupted, and the nearby air was instantly drained, and the waves hit in all directions. It was completely a doomsday storm. Crash! The island shook, and the spread of the impact caused the sea to set off huge waves hundreds of meters high, rolling into the depths of the sea at an extremely terrifying speed. At the battle site, a huge depression with a diameter of more than a kilometer was blasted out, and all the rock and soil were compacted to the extreme. Thousands of meters away, even tens of thousands of meters away, whether it was rocks, trees, or the originally built research institute, they were all shattered into pieces and flew away. Those so-called researchers, Conqueror stun marines, every one of them was torn into pieces of flesh and blood at the moment of impact, with blood splattering everywhere. It was extremely bloody. However, if they really cared, there wouldn't be so many people paddling in the battle, and only Akainu would fight to the top. Cough, 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 cough. Old Garp is only over 60 years old. He is not that old yet, and has no physical problems. He is difficult to deal with. Amidst the nuclear explosion like smoke, Adolf coughed and emerged from the embedded humanoid depression. Garp fights a group of people on Beehive Island, very fiercely. What level of pirates are there on the 6th floor of Impel Down? Do they start as lieutenant generals? Those who join Blackbeard are the best ones who have survived through fighting, and their strength is at least in the rank of general candidate. Also, Shiryu of Rain seriously injured Garp in a sneak attack. After the transparent fruit was developed, is it difficult to understand transparency from the color of sight? Neither Germa's invisibility technology nor Quinn's invisibility can be perceived with the color of sight, let alone devil fruits. Aokiji Kuzan is in front again. Considering that Garp was almost 78 when he was buried, he was older than Whitebeard. While protecting a group of morons, beating such a group of monsters and injuring each of them seriously, even Aokiji was tied up. Isn't this fierce? It's super impressive, isn't it? There is no way to fight in a group fight. One person is facing each other with punches, and the others are attacking from behind. Shiryu of the Rain is stabbing in the waist, but he is not giving away one by one. There are few Garp scenes, so I feel like I am knocking down myth destruction and shitting my pants every once in a while, and I have to pave the way for the Deserter King. Mermaid boy, this is not the sea. Prepare to be beaten. Garp was like a cannonball rushing out of the smoke. He grinned and punched again, not waiting for the smoke to dissipate. Boom. Adolf's fist wrapped around Conqueror's was also swung away. The two fists collided, and the terrifying energy tore through the earth and lifted up the smoke and dust. Bang, bang, bang. The two completely turned into black shadows and fought madly together. Although it is naturally disadvantageous for races in the sea to fight on the ground, it also makes Adolf's blood boil. Come on, let's fight. Is this all you have? Garp. Aha. Boom. Kong. Bang. Whether it's the sight color, the weapon color, or the Conquerors, all of them are activated to the extreme. Punch wildly to release all the boiling power in your body, and you can't even feel the pain because the adrenaline is already bursting. This kind of punching to the flesh, the power felt through destruction, is so real. Completely intoxicated by transcending the limitations of the mortal body, every move shows the power of shattering mountains and rivers. At this moment, every cell in his body is excited. Not only adrenaline, every cell is telling him, squeeze it hard. Squeeze out the inner strength and physical strength continuously. Over Punk has Sad Island, due to the invisible influence of Conquerors, thick, dark clouds shrouded it, and it was so dark that it seemed like the sky was about to collapse. The dark red lightning strikes from time to time, as if the end is coming. On the earth, dust rose all over the sky, and the earth continued to crack. The riddled island collapsed, spreading abyss-like cracks one after another. Even the mountains were blasted by hammers and exploded into countless boulders falling all over the sky. The whole island seemed to be collapsing. Old man Garp, use force. Haven't you eaten yet? Adolf's eyes were fierce, and he resisted the heavy blows from his mouth. A tough-talking boy, falling from the bottom of the sea. In the sky, Garp stepped on the air and caught up with Adolf, who flew backwards at a faster speed. The huge palm wrapped with top-notch domineering power grabbed his face and threw it towards the ground with all its strength. It turned into a meteor falling to the ground, with dark red lightning trailing behind. Boom. The rocky ground was as fragile as tofu. A deep well over a kilometer was blasted out, driving Adolf a kilometer underground. The ground continued to shake. And next to it, the earth cracked open and released countless rough gravels that shook the sky, and the edges of the stones were raised. This time the power is completely concentrated on Adolf. Sure enough, it will be difficult to defeat it without borrowing the power of the sea. At least it will take some time to win on the ground. In the huge pit, Adolf's whole body seemed to be falling apart. Chapter 72, The Tormented Saint Satan. It's been taken out. All three of them have been taken out. Saint Satan. Hold on. I'll give you medicine right away. Ho ha ha ha. Saint Satan was lying on the ground with a pale face, not a trace of blood, and his body was so weak that he was dehydrated. It hurts. It really hurts. His suit was cut open behind him, and he couldn't care less about his but being exposed, and he wasn't in the mood to care anymore. Hylu stone needles are nailed to the spine, lumbar vertebrae, and tail vertebrae. It's the kind where the roots are nailed into the bones, leaving no cross-section outside, just like a nail hammered into the wall. Even the nail cap is completely hammered into the wall. So if you want to pull it out, you only have to grind and dent the bones around the seafloor stone needle a little bit, then expose the seafloor stone, then use a clip to clamp it and pull it out. But the premise is that the skin and muscles should be dug out. After that comes the pain of grinding the bones, which is as cruel as bone scraping therapy. Moreover, it is an important place where the central nervous system is spread throughout the spine and controls the limbs and the whole body. People with lumbar disc herniation can understand the pain, but in such a place, the bones must be ground and dented. Skin and flesh are okay, but if you are as strong as Saint Satan, your bones are harder than steel, so you will need to torture for a longer time. Anesthetic? Anesthetics of his strength won't work. Fortunately, the great swordsman Bogart took action. Otherwise, the other ship's doctors would have had to use a chainsaw. Helm me up. Saint Satan's suit was soaked with cold sweat, and his back was covered in blood. His majestic curly hair and beard were messy, imageless, and extremely embarrassed. A group of sailors quickly helped Satan's Saint stand up. Now it's true that he doesn't even have the strength to stand up. Scraping the central nervous system without anesthetic every second is a test of will. Cut my stomach open. There's still, in my stomach. The whites of Saint Satan's pupils were completely bloodshot, as if they were about to explode. Bogart was silent, Garp felt chills, and the other Marines felt their scalps numb. It's better to mess with the devil than Poseidon. Hurry, Saint Satan yelled, saliva flying everywhere. Good-do. Bogart drew his sword and swallowed secretly. He is also the first man to cut off the bones and stomach of the 5 elders, the highest power in the world government. Schwa. The sword light flashed so quickly that it was impossible to catch it with the naked eye, which was supposed to minimize the pain. Snort. But Saint Sartan got angry and thrust his right arm into his body. A large amount of blood spurted out, flowing down the arm like a slaughtered pig, and even the gastric juices flowed out. Ha 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 ha. Ha 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 ha. Panting and laughing wildly, cruel, crazy, and irrational madness. Dao Fu. Fish Adolf. I will cut you into thousands of pieces and make you suffer torture thousands of times more painful than mine. The pupils release a cruel aura. Crazy, completely crazy. The blood-stained ring fell from his hand, and strange demonic flames burned, and the whole person continued to expand. The lower body was an 8-legged demon spider, and the upper body was a Gyuki headhorn. But with his messy hair, messy beard, demon flames wrapped around his body, and flashing domineering aura, he looked like a terrifying demon spider walking out of hell. Completely animalized. All previous injuries were healed in the magic flames, but it could not heal his tortured soul. Can't cure that crazy heart. So big. Such a strong sense of oppression. Is this the fruit ability of 5 elders, Satan Saint? Animal type, phantom beast species E. One by one, the sailors trembled and exclaimed. Only then did Saint Satan think of them. A strange look appeared in his eyes, and some kind of terrifying power was released. Who is it? You are allowed to look directly at me. Look directly at me, Jago Lucia Saint Satan. Not good. Garp noticed something, and immediately stepped forward to block the situation. Both fists were crossed with domineering force, blocking Saint Satan's invisible attack and blocking Saint Satan's gaze. That is, as long as those with low strength have a disrespectful heart, they will bleed to death under his gaze. Saint, Garp said solemnly, confronting Saint Sartan. It also barely awoke Saint Satan from complete madness and regained his sanity slightly. He is willing to give Garp face, just because Garp will be rescued from the deep-sea hell, and the shameful white hell will not happen. If these people don't come to rescue us, we will be really desperate. Shichichi. With its sharp 8-legged movement, a huge body comparable to the hills is walking across the land. When we arrived at the cave, which was as dark as a deep well, we could no longer see through it with the naked eye. Even seeing and hearing things so deep underground was affected. After all, it is about sensing the breath. If there are too many debris and the separation is too thick, the breath will naturally be covered up. Escaped from the underground? Are you a dog, Adolf? When the sight and color went all the way down the hole, Adolf was gone? It was difficult for Saint Satan to accept that he had suffered so much humiliation and torture. The culprit actually escaped? How could he bear it? How could he bear it? Crack, click. The dark red conqueror's dominance was released from the overlord. The earth collapsed, and shocking cracks spread thousands of meters from the 8 legs. The dark clouds in the sky flickered and a group of electric lights exploded, reflecting his monstrous rage. Boom boom. Punk has Sad Island shook, fractured from south to north, and a dark, bottomless abyss appeared. But soon, rolling waves poured in from both ends, and endless seawater filled the Rift Valley. Is this the highest power in the world? It's too exaggerated. How could it tear apart the island so easily? The Marines couldn't believe it. It looks like this is all done by that mermaid boy. Garp looked at the huge Rift Valley, more than 100 meters wide, with sea water rushing into it. Several masters came to the beach in an instant and looked at Adolf on the sea. You received so many attacks from me, and yet you didn't get hurt at all? Garp was shocked. Damn it. He wants to destroy the entire island and drag us all into the bottom of the sea. Saint Satan gritted his teeth. Conquerors turned into electric arcs and flashed between his hair and Whitebeard. The momentum was terrifying, but there was nothing he could do. There are so many of you, but you are still in an environment that is unfavorable to me. I have to fight with you because my brain is broken. Adolf raised his middle finger and mocked. Mermaid Jiu-Jitsu, heavy rain. Boom. He grabbed the sea water and threw it towards the sky, disappearing into the clouds. Conquerors stimulated the electrons in the clouds, suddenly lighting up the world with arcing thunderbolts and exploding with thunderous thunder. A group of new world cumulonimbus clouds appear. The dark sky was filled with lightning and thunder, and heavy raindrops covered the entire island and even the entire sea area for more than 300 miles, and it was even expanding. The strong winds that were fighting fiercely with Garp were still blowing, and the weather in the entire sea area was disrupted. The sea level fluctuates up to 10 meters high, perfectly reproducing the catastrophic scene of the extreme bad weather and tsunami in the New World. Hahaha. Old man Garp, Saint Satan. Let's start our third round. Be enemies with me and the world. Chapter 73. Become the enemy of me and the world. Mermaid Karate, Highlang Bangkwan. Hey, is this really a fist? It's obviously pushing a tsunami towards me dash. Nearly 1,000 Marines' eyes popped out, and snot bubbles popped out of their noses in fear. In front of their eyes, a giant tsunami 100 meters high stretched for more than 10 miles, as if the sea was falling, giving people an invincible and vast power. And as it continues to get closer, the waves coming up from behind are superimposed crazily, getting higher and bigger. The huge waves that are hundreds of meters long seem to touch the clouds in the sky, which is simply like a doomsday tsunami. Shrouded in a deep sense of powerlessness and insignificance, it would be difficult for anyone to resist. It's over. We're all dead. This is an enemy of the sky, an enemy of the sea, an enemy of the world. Is this Poseidon, mastering the power of the sea? The sailors stared blankly at the huge waves of the apocalyptic tsunami. Even though they had experienced many battles, they fell to their knees without any strength. What are you talking about? Lieutenant General Garp is a hero chasing One Piece all over the world. It's just a wave. Only a sailor who has followed Garp and seen strong winds and waves can withstand such psychological pressure. One by one, the desperate sailors looked at Garp as if looking at the savior, waiting for the moment when the darkness would be broken. We are Marines. How can we be afraid of strong winds and waves? You know, the bigger the storm, the more expensive the fish dash. Garp bared his teeth and was full of confidence. That's right, Poseidon. It's just a big fish in the sea. Come on, Lieutenant General Garp. Let him see how powerful we are dash. Everyone clenched their fists and booed. Fist bone impact. Putting on the posture, the top-level domineering energy in the right hand is entangled, and a terrifying aura rises up. Nothing can stop it, and it seems to shatter the sky. With the fist pumping in the air, the bright light flashes across like the Milky Way, becoming the hope of salvation that cuts through the apocalypse. People's eyes can't help but be attracted to it. The bright naked eye cannot capture it, but it leaves a dazzling afterimage on the eye mask. The dazzling light burst out with terrifying power in everyone's eyes. Rumble, rumble. Turbulent waves. The apocalyptic tsunami, which was hundreds of meters high and more than 10 miles wide, collapsed under the terrifying power of a nuclear explosion, turning into a torrential rain sputtering all over the sky. Even the 100-foot deep seawater was instantly displaced thousands of miles away, exposing the hard seafloor rocks, and even the seafloor rock formations collapsed. The fish and shrimp in the sea have long since fled, and the slow ones have turned into minced meat and merged into the sea. A terrifying blow shook the island again, facing the risk of collapse at any time. The billowing energy rushes outward crazily with the impact, and the affected sea area is also expanding. On Punkhasad Island, the remaining huge waves on both sides were still tens of meters high, smashing a large number of rocks into pieces and rolling into the sea. The entire island was visibly shrinking to the naked eye. It's a pity that their field of vision is not that high and they cannot see the whole picture of Punkhasad. Hahaha, go bring the cannonballs. Mermaid boy, if you want to hide in the sea, then I will fry the fish. Garp laughed boldly. Oops, Lieutenant General Garp, our ship was swept away by the waves. What? My dog-headed warship dash. Garp's eyes popped out. How could it not be swept away by such a big wave? Adolf followed Garp's line of sight and noticed the warship that was like a small boat in the sea. Return the warship? You all have to stay today. Let's all turn into gourd boys and save Grandpa. He casually shot the water droplets from the heart of the sea and sank the warship. Damn it. Garp gritted his teeth. But he did not rush directly into the sea and fight Adolf in the sea for 300 rounds. Mermaids are at a disadvantage when fighting on the ground. When humans go to the sea, they will die the same way. I just like the expressions of you gritting your teeth and feeling helpless. Adolf raised his hand again. Originally, this punch contained hundreds of layers of strength, like shaving, which were superimposed layer by layer in an instant, bursting out with terrifying power. But after understanding the meaning of the swordsman and the sea, the waves followed him. Only on land, he can only punch out the water in the atmosphere. Although the power is strong and the destructive power explodes, the sea's response is just a response. This swordsman's perception is not strong enough to directly turn the land into an ocean. That is the great swordsman's realm. But in the sea, raising your hands and feet to respond to the roaring waves, and the vast power accompanying it, truly brings the great swordsman to the extreme. Poseidon, 10,000 waves of sinking. Adolf extended his arms with domineering force, grasped the sea water as if it were material, and turned it into a trident of water. Plug it into the sea and push it hard, and it will immediately set off huge waves, as if you truly have control over the sea. As the sea water rolls, it gets higher and higher, reaching up to 1,000 meters, even touching cumulonimbus clouds, and the sky and sea completely merge into one. The width stretches for hundreds of miles, completely exceeding the size of the island itself by several times. When it sweeps over, everything is shrouded in shadow. Saint Satan's face was extremely gloomy. The storm and heavy rain pounded on my body, and I felt like a drowned rat. My whole body was soaked, and my body was weak from the sea water. As the 5 elders who are in charge of the world's power, the powerlessness and weakness of losing power is simply torture, and he has no sense of security, so he has to wake up from his rage. At this moment, he felt the insignificance of mortals for the first time in a long time, and fear. It seems bigger than before. Garp also felt the pressure. He clenched his fists again and took a stance, his momentum rising to the extreme. Boom! As he punched out, the world was silenced. All the waves, strong winds, and heavy rains have lost their color. A huge hole over 1,000 meters appeared in the waves, and the tsunami was penetrated. But except for the kilometer that made the hole, the rest of the island was completely hit by huge waves. The entire island trembled with terrifying power. It is said that a drop of water penetrates a stone. When such a huge wave hits, even the rocks are shattered under the huge wave. Just this wave of islands wiped out 3 to 5 meters in height, and those places that were less than 3 meters high have disappeared from the sea. Wow! The wind and waves have not stopped, and the heavy rain has continued to fall. How can the waves subside before the island is completely submerged? Huge waves surged across the entire sea area, and endless tsunamis rose up like waves of galloping horses. Each one was more than 100 meters high. It was a complete doomsday catastrophe. It's too much. Isn't there no end in sight? The sailors collapsed one by one, and the veterans said they had never seen anything like this. Everyone, please think of a way. If this continues, we won't even have a place to stand. Caesar Carant held his head in despair. Normally, it is impossible to calm the waves with human power. Vegapunk said, I'm already trying my best. Garp breathed heavily and exploded with extreme domineering, blocking one wave after another. But no matter how strong he has been punching for more than half an hour. How can he use domineering tricks so frequently? Schwa. Bogart waved his sword in surprise, splitting the tsunami into 2, and the sea divided into 2 parts. But even this can't stop the continuous tsunami in the entire sea area. The sea water is flowing and endless, but the island under their feet is not. So far, Punk has only the small land under their feet, and is forced into a desperate situation. Chapter 74. Keep them all for me. I didn't expect even you to be able to deal with him, Garp. It seems we need more manpower, Saint Satan said in a deep voice, his eyes glowing scarlet. Teleportation magic circle. Poseidon, a habard of the sea. The trident in Adolf's hand is like the heart of the ocean reflecting blue light, intertwined with dark red lightning of destruction, projected from the bottom of the sea. The earth cracked open, and a huge hole penetrated from bottom to top, leading directly to Saint Satan. Saint Satan suddenly noticed the strong aura. His face was distorted with fear, and his bloodshot eyes opened as wide as possible. But under the penetration of sea water, wind, and waves, the capable person was physically weak and was still half a beat slower. Boom whoosh. The trident of blue magic and dark red destruction shot out from the earth, went straight into the sky and exploded, intensifying the torrential rain and thunder in the sky. The magic circle was destroyed, and Saint Satan's lower body was penetrated at the same time, and the ferocious 8 legs were cut off again. Damn it! He wants to kill us here. Saint Satan gritted his teeth, feeling deeply powerless. The current situation was obviously no match for Adolf. He also wanted to shake people off while there was still a place to stay, and called the other four who were drinking tea together to start a group fight. But Adolf didn't give him a chance at all. If Adolf knew that he wanted to shake people instead of running away, he would not have stopped him. Instead, he would have applauded and welcomed him, especially those with abilities. The more the better. Wanna run? What are you thinking about, Dash? He is worthy of the hero Garp who chased Roger with a ship and built a mountain with one punch. There is also this invisible great swordsman Bogart, with his sword combed in the middle. This intensity has been going on for half an hour, and I'm still not exhausted. It's so fierce. In the waves, Adolf held the trident of water and watched them fight with all their might. It was a waste. In this half hour, he had recovered all the energy he had consumed, but Garp and the others were so tired that they couldn't stop at all. Garp dared to chase Roger with a ship without being hacked to death, which means that they are at least about the same strength, and there is Rayleigh on Roger's ship. In other words, Bogart can compete with Rayleigh. It can be said that the two of them are ridiculously strong, plus the 5 elders, Satan Saint. If he really dares to go up alone, he will probably be hammered to the point of doubting his life, or even several people will hold him down, and he will not be able to escape. But so what? They can hit a mountain with one punch, or even sink an entire island. But can they destroy the entire ocean? It's useless to defeat it. It must be defeated. The waves are endless, and he only needs to wave his trident to push it from time to time to maintain the huge waves. Even as he continued to use it, he felt that if he studied it carefully, he could permanently solidify the huge wave sea area and form the unique ocean current weather of New World. After all, in the New World, extreme weather such as storms and huge waves are not uncommon, and there are even more extreme weather. It can be described as the true power of heaven and earth. This kid is so difficult. He can obviously destroy the last place, but he insists on consuming our energy. Garp also felt powerless and aggrieved. He obviously couldn't beat him. Lieutenant General Garp. Bogart glanced heavily at the Marines protecting him, as well as Vegapunk, Caesar Courant, 5 elders, and others. Yes, Adolf was able to attack the foundation of Punk Hassad Island with a destructive move from the very beginning, and Garp and the others couldn't do anything to stop it. Once the island is destroyed, Saint Satan will basically lose his combat power when he falls into the sea, but it will also force Garp and Bogart to fight with him in a final life-and-death fight. It was really unstable for Adolf. After all, this was the surface of the sea, not the bottom of the sea. The sea surface is breathable. Want to drown in sea water? You can run on moonwalk in the sky. You can also drown. So using the surging tsunami to consume Garp and his group's physical strength and force them to defend the island will undoubtedly greatly increase his chances of winning. As long as the island remains, as long as Garp and Bogart don't voluntarily give up these hundreds of people, and don't give up Vegapunk with a huge head of more than 10 meters, they will not voluntarily give up the land. Saint, we will create a chance for you later, but there is only one chance, Garp said with great caution as he pushed back the wave again. Now we have no choice but to leave. Saint Satan nodded. At this time, he couldn't stand up anymore. Seeing that there were only 1,000 meters left to stay, even if he called the other 4 over, it would be of no avail. Instead, Adolf would catch them all in one fell swoop and annihilate them all. Bogart, Garp yelled. Bogart nodded and looked up at the huge cumulonimbus clouds in the sky. They were so thick that it seemed as if the sky was falling. There was no ray of sunlight at all, and only the flashing thunder arcs from time to time illuminated the world. It's simply the doomsday despair and the darkest moment. Kaz. The sword sheathed, eyes closed, and breath calmed down. In just a moment, the momentum was adjusted to the extreme, and he slashed suddenly. It's daybreak. An unparalleled crack appeared in the sky. The clouds were torn apart for hundreds of miles, and the sun shone down, as if seeing the light of hope. My mood became wider. On the way, the heavy rain broke away, and we had a moment of respite. Saint Satan seized the opportunity and jumped up. His body suddenly shook, and his armed domineering force shattered all the suits on his body and flew out, including the wet sea water. Although it seems that weakness and physical exhaustion are serious, it is better than being directly powerless in sea water. Teleportation magic circle. A scarlet mysterious magic circle appeared under his 8-legged feet. Without the influence of sea water, it formed very quickly. Poseidon, a habard of the sea. The trident in his hand was projected again. He also saw that Garp and the others were trying their best. How could they be allowed to escape? The majesty of the blue and dark red sea cuts through space and distance, arriving in an instant. But at the same time, Garp jumped under Saint Satan. You little mermaid, you've had enough trouble. Fist bone impact. The extremely entangled domineering force punched out, blocking the front of the trident. It doesn't look like there are so many fancy special effects. It's just a domineering attack wrapped around the right hand. but it has the terrifying power to smash most of the Beehive Island into pieces. To put it bluntly, this is the purity of a non-ability person, the extremely powerful body and domineering spirit. And during the collision, the blue waves shone brightly, reflecting the beauty of the sea to the whole world, but it also carried an arc of destruction. Circles of fluctuations spread from the middle, washing out like super vibration waves, followed by waves of destruction, and everything on the island was washed away. Vegapunk, Caesar Courant, and nearly 1,000 trembling Marines were all thrown away. Aha! Garp's madness squeezed all his potential, and his face was distorted and terrifying. The sea halberd carrying the power of the sea could no longer maintain its shape and completely exploded, turning into high-pressure water blades and exploding in a ring. But this water blade ring has an extremely terrifying edge. No one can leave. Adolf rushed out on his own initiative. However, Saint Sartan was closer and stretched out his 8 legs earlier, leading everyone to flee immediately, leaving Adolf in the air. But at this moment, the endless tsunami crashed down, submerging the last remaining place. I don't believe you can teleport out of this storm at once. Adolf was unaffected in the sea and immediately took out the phone and asked for X-ray vision. But he suddenly found a huge head of more than 10 meters in the sea, and a purple figure beside it was swept away by the sea water. Vegapunk. Caesar Courant is here too? P.S. The sea surface is different from the bottom of the sea. The sea surface can breathe, dads. The top powerhouses are capable of collapsing islands. Not to mention, they can still protect themselves with domineering strength. The island is gone, and people all over the world are being beaten and running away. The protagonist can chase and fight as his grandson, but Akainu Aokiji still fights for 10 days. A strong person in physical skills can swim to the Red Earth continent in 10 days. Chapter 75. The brain left behind by Vegapunk. P.S. The sea surface is different from the bottom of the sea. The sea surface can breathe, so it won't cause the membrane to rupture as soon as it meets the bottom of the sea. Moonwalk can run in the sky, and there is no problem running on the sea. After finding Vegapunk and catching Satan Saint, the protagonist has been walking back. I was still a big man with a group of people and couldn't get up quickly. Those words were what Saint Satan asked for help in the middle of the journey. I have described it many times in the previous article. I don't want to just wait for death. Vegapunk? Surrounding the huge head, no one is seen? Just a huge head and broken bones? Isn't it because of the aftermath of the impact that the body was completely shattered? Adolf wondered. But no matter what, as long as Vegapunk dies, his biggest threat will be gone, and he will be able to deal with it much more easily in the future. Even if someone else eats the brain fruit, they will not be able to use the fruit's abilities without Vegapunk's own research talent. Are there too few god-level fruits that are ruined by melon rinds? Can't you teleport to the sky, and then teleport all the way away? Garp complained behind Saint Satan's back. I teleported all the way from Maria Joya, and was repeatedly weakened by being immersed in sea water. My physical strength was severely exhausted. This is already the limit. Saint Sartan seemed weak even when he was soaked in seawater. Wait, where's Vegapunk? We won't forget him. Garp suddenly realized that there was a missing person, an extremely important key figure. I should take it with me. Did it fall into the sea? Saint Satan said, I'm here. I have no strength at all after soaking in the seawater, and I can't even feel my head. Vegapunk's weak voice came. Where's your brain? Where's your brain as big as a hot air balloon? When Garp saw what Vegapunk looked like now, his nose was filled with snot bubbles. The 5 elders and Saint Satan were also dumbfounded. He said that he had never seen it even after living for so many years. My head. No wonder I feel so much more relaxed. Vegapunk touched his head and found that he had no brain. From the eyebrows up, there is no room for brains on the forehead. I just felt something pass through my forehead, and then it was taken away by Saint Satan. Vegapunk said. When Garp smashed the trident just now, the spreading water blade cut off Vegapunk's brain in an instant. To be precise, Vegapunk's body is too tall, already much bigger than the giants, but his real body is the same as that of ordinary people, except that the brain on his head keeps growing, getting bigger and bigger like a hot air balloon. The invisible blade is far sharper than the visible blade, and it also carries Conqueror's Arc, so that after the brain is cut open, the brain waves are still magically connected. No one expected such a result. What should I do if it's probably left behind? Do I want to go back and look for it? Bogart asked. Going back now is like throwing yourself into a trap. Even I have to admit the strength that guy showed in the sea. Garp said, let's go back to Maria Joya first. Our current state is no longer suitable for fighting. Saint Satan said tactfully. It was too tactful, and he also carried the baggage of 2 ability users, himself and Vegapunk. There is no way. The 5 elders, the highest authority, want to save face. Then let's leave quickly. The speed of mermaids in the sea is the fastest in the world. It will be difficult to catch up. Bogart suggested. Adolf checked on Caesar Courant. It's okay, he just fainted. Picking up the phone, before she could speak, Violet, who had been paying attention to the battlefield, said first. Vegapunk is not dead yet. He has been rescued. Currently, Saint Satan is using his ability to lead Garp and others towards Mary Joa. What? Adolf suddenly looked at the head on the ground. There was no other such a huge and unique brain in the world. Although it is incredible, it is true on the ground. Vegapunk's brain is right in front of you. The Vegapunk rescued by Saint Satan has no brain, but Vegapunk is indeed alive. Violet looked confused the whole time. Could her brain be left alive? This. Adolf was also stunned. Vegapunk is still alive? But his brain is with me? That's right. Violet confirmed again. Adolf was silent, which was outrageous to be honest. It's true that he used to read novels without using his brain, but he didn't really chop off his brain. Belated brain storage place. Feel the wisdom of genius together with Vegapunk brain. It feels a bit like a fruit that is torn apart. The brain waves of the brain fruit? The devil fruit is really magical? Since this is Vegapunk's brain, if I destroy it now, will I be able to kill him? No, since it's all in my hands, I can destroy it anytime I want. If the destruction can't kill Vegapunk and grow another one, it will be a waste. Adolf's right hand dispersed, and he gave up the idea of direct destruction. But he also took out a sea tower stone needle from his belt and pierced the huge head. Ah! Someone stabbed me in the head. It was a sea rock. It feels so uncomfortable. My brain can't function properly. It's so uncomfortable to touch the sea water. Vegapunk lay paralyzed on Bogart's body. It really hurt. I can't afford any more strength. Even the functioning of the brain seems to be filled with feces, and it is not as smooth as before. There's nothing you can do about it. Just bear with it. Now I can only hope that guy won't blow your head off. Saint Satan said. Satan Saint and the others are already 300 kilometers away from you, and are about to leave the storm area. Violet reminded. No more chasing. Garp and Bogart are not capable people. If you want to take 2 people away, you only need 1 person to hold me back for a while. I can't keep them 2 from the beginning. The ones who kept them were the sailors on their ship. Now these people have all sunk to the bottom of the sea. No one can keep them without the burden on their hearts. Besides, Vegapunk's brain is still more than 10 meters tall, so he can move faster with people. It's time and destiny. As long as they have less than 1 master, they won't be able to escape. It's difficult to deal with a large number of people. Adolf regretted that he was too lazy to try. He took Vegapunk and the 3 of them away at first, and needed to control Satan himself. After all, he wanted Violet to see the memories in his mind, and the other 2 could only walk by themselves. This huge head was really slow. The artificial devil fruit studied by Vegapunk is at the bottom of the sea, and there are also 24 spider legs that Satan transformed into a holy beast. Violet said. Adolf nodded and collected the loot. I wonder if I can use these limbs to create Saint Satan's devil fruit? 24 Gyuki phantom beast species? If not, it would be nice to put them in a trophy exhibition hall. P.S. I originally wanted to bring it back to Fishman Island to make raw materials for extracting bloodline factors. The Supreme Power 5 Elders Flesh and Blood Production Factory would mass-produce Gyuki Fantasy Beast species. As a result, looking at the latest episode, the 5 Elders can most likely teleport to each other, and they can teleport back if they catch them. If they can't get around, they have no choice but to let go. It's so painful to be slapped in the face by the original work, and maybe I will be slapped in the face again. They are not devil fruits at all, or they are not people at all, but products made by him, just like Six Paths Pain, then I will break open. Chapter 76 A Chance Encounter with Doflamingo. Huh? Where's this place? Why is it so dark? Caesar Courant looked around in confusion. Just as he was about to light the gaslighting, Adolf's voice came. I advise you not to do such dangerous things. Ah. Adolf. Caesar Courant woke up in an instant, and his soul almost disappeared. At the same time, he noticed the huge head next to him, and his eyes popped out. Beg. Has Vegapunk been killed by you? Vegapunk is not dead yet, but his brain fell into my hands. Adolf returned dragging the bubble loot. How could he still be alive after his brain was cut off? Caesar Courant collapsed emotionally, rubbing his hands in an extremely flattering manner. Your Majesty Poseidon, your target is Vegapunk. He is the evil scientist who threatens you. He has nothing to do with me. Just let me go. You said you developed weapons of mass destruction against the fishmen, right? Adolf turned to him. Caesar Courant was about to brag when he quickly reacted. No, that's just an ordinary biological weapon. It's used to fight pirates. With one shot, poisonous gas will spread throughout the ship, and the pirates inside will all die. It's perfect for dealing with fleets coming to the deep sea. Lord Poseidon, didn't you recruit me to join before? I want to join. Let me be your dog. I am willing to be loyal to you. Caesar Courant took the initiative to kneel down and express his stance. If he didn't have a cane, he would have broken one. I'm very satisfied with your attitude, but if you betray me, I will be very unhappy. Adolf looked at him. No, 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 even if I betray the whole world, I will not betray you. If you ask me to go east, I will never go west. If you ask me to study this, I will never study that. Caesar Carant kowtowed anxiously, focusing on one from the heart. There's nothing I can do about it. Vegapunk's head is still there. Work hard, and after overthrowing the world government, I can promise you the position of president of the Imperial Academy of Sciences, and you will be the #1 scientist in the world. Yes, Caesar Carant was immediately moved, and even had a sweet dream. Even the 5 elders had to die personally, and Adolf was forced into a desperate situation alone. No matter how you look at it, the future is bright. Although he is currently an enemy of the world government, he will eventually become a senior figure in the empire. Hey, 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 hey. An almost twisted and lewd expression. The corners of Adolf's mouth curled up slightly. He liked to be full after just one piece of cake. Not to mention it is difficult to come up with 1 trillion or 10 billion. But with just one piece of cake, all difficulties become a test that needs to be overcome, and the food is extremely sweet. The storm in New World is really exaggerated. Monet brushed his long light green hair. After all, this is the New World, a place full of monsters. No one without extraordinary courage is worthy of living in this sea. Toribol trailed his nose. Monet, we are embarking on a new era ship. Don't let this storm scare you. Indian-like Diamanti stood on the deck and laughed proudly. On the boat, only Doflamingo looked solemnly at the dark cumulonimbus clouds in the distance, as if the heavy rain and huge waves were about to overturn the world. Suddenly, the cumulonimbus clouds covering hundreds of miles of sea area, like an apocalypse, suddenly tore open a huge hole that was hundreds of miles long. Then, what is that? Is this also the New World climate? Everyone on the boat was horrified and looked at the sky in disbelief. Sister! Xiao Sutang was so frightened that she threw herself into Monet's arms. After an unknown amount of time, the cumulonimbus clouds dispersed, the sky became clear, and the sea gradually returned to calm. The ship continues to sail on the blue sea. Young master, something is coming from the sea. It seems to be a person. Monet pointed to the sea and said, Is the storm in trouble? How pitiful, let's wait for him on our ship. Sutang felt pity, and then suggested like a little devil. Then suddenly speed up and let him watch us leave. He will be very desperate. Monet laughs, what a bad idea. We have to avoid marine coating later. We don't have time to waste. Doflamingo came over, but when he saw the people coming from the side of the ship, the corner of his mouth twitched and said, Stop the ship. Ha. Be careful. Let him see us clearly, so that he can remember us deeply. Sugar smiled evilly. This is no joke, Sugar. Veins popped up on Doflamingo's forehead, and he felt like his scalp was numb. What's wrong? One by one came to the side of the boat, but after seeing the figure clearly, they all opened their mouths. Poseidon Adolf? Sutang was stunned and quickly climbed onto the bucket. The moment he saw clearly, his whole body was in bad shape. On the sea, a 5-meter-high wave came from a distance. It seemed to be rolled and pushed by an invisible force at an extremely fast speed, and Adolf was on top of the wave. I didn't mean it, I didn't say anything, and I didn't know it was yours. Sugar said so anxiously that her tongue was tied. What evil intentions can a little pirate like her have? She just wants to tease her. The person with the stone fruit ability is also here. That's good. The waves rolled up, holding Adolf in the center. His name is Pika, a cadre of my family. Doflamingo introduced with a grin. Poseidon Adolf. Pika took the initiative to take 2 steps forward. He was extremely burly, but his voice was extremely feminine and sharp. Adolf looked at him and said, The strength is a bit low, and the project will be much slower. Let me take you for a ride. Rubbing his hands together, a ball of milky white viscous liquid appeared, blowing out huge bubbles and covering the entire ship. Its toughness is even stronger than that of normal coated materials. Is this coated? Is it a devil fruit power? If your body comes into contact with seawater, you are not a person with abilities. The pendants were amazed one by one. Everything that just happened was your doing. Doflamingo looked at Adolf. Yeah, I had a fight with Garp and Saint Satan, but unfortunately they escaped. Adolf entered the inner deck of the ship. Garp and Saint Satan? Are they the celestial dragons? Why are they more exaggerated than the other? That's not just a celestial dragon. It's also one of the 5 elders, the highest authority in the world government. Doflamingo suppressed his voice, but grinned from the corner of his mouth to his ears, and became extremely excited. What? The eyes of the Don Quixote family pendants popped out, and their hearts almost choked with fear. Boo-hoo. That's right. It was His Majesty Poseidon's battle just now. These are Lord Poseidon's trophies. Caesar Carant raised his head proudly. As long as the position changes quickly, there will be no sadness, only love. Devil fruit? Everyone was confused when they saw the devil fruit in his hand. This is an artificial devil fruit developed by Vegapunk. Later, you will see me develop a real artificial devil fruit. After all, the bloodline factor technology was discovered by me and Vegapunk together. Unfortunately, he is dead now. I am the world's most talented scientist. Chapter 77, Childlike Fruit E Sugar. What? Artificial devil fruit? Even devil fruit can be artificially created. Doflamingo's pupils contracted, and he subconsciously thought of the extremely huge army of devil fruits. Looking at the almost perfect, flawless artificial devil fruit in disbelief, he looked at Adolf. Compared to the boastful Caesar Courant, Adolf obviously believed in the name of Poseidon more. Adolf nodded, confirming Caesar Courant's words. This is nothing. After all, it is a failure. Lord Poseidon's real trophies are these? Bah, 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 bah. That's such a pity. As expected of Poseidon, just now, another earth-shattering incident has happened. If it were published in the newspapers, the whole world would be panicked. I have already seen the death of the world government. Doflamingo laughed cruelly, looking at Adolf passionately because his ideal was so close, and his whole body was boiling. Adolf sat on the floating bubble he created. That's right. Let's publish it in the newspaper and give the world a little shock. Otherwise, if the world government is replaced one day, people will not know what happened. This is not a small shock. It will cause a commotion all over the world. Monet chuckled and handed over a cup of black tea. Yeah, it's good. It would be better if it's milk tea. I like to have milk. Adolf took a sip and admired the huge fruit hanging on Monet's chest. With long light green hair and golden eyes, Monet is much more youthful and pure than other women. Of course, her figure is also graceful and perfect in size and scale. I guess it's a big G. Don't worry about breast milk. Is it a specialty of Fishman Island? Monet was confused. This was the first time she heard about it. Bioria. Doflamingo noticed Adolf's gaze and smiled carelessly. If he doesn't like women, then it's his turn to be afraid. Lord Poseidon, he said it was a joke on his head. Even a giant doesn't have such a big body, right? Sugar asked curiously. Vegapunk is a brain fruit user. As long as he memorizes more knowledge, his brain will become bigger and bigger. Aren't there all people with abilities on your ship? Is there anything strange about it? Adolf scanned the circle. The Doflamingo family can be said to be the template for a time traveler team, with all members having abilities, except for one or two. Although the combat power of all the ability users on the ship has been greatly improved, and their various abilities have enriched their methods, he is not afraid of this kind of group the least. As long as the ship is destroyed, except Doflamingo and the spinning ability that can fly, everything else will burp. Even on a cloudless day, Doflamingo would die in the sea and would not be able to cry. It's the same as me. I can't grow big after eating the devil fruit. Sugar thought. Adolf looked at the corner of his mouth and said, it turns out that it's just that he doesn't grow big. It's not that he's really not big. That's legal. A little guy like you can't even eat a meal in the deep sea. Eat, cannibals? Sugar was so frightened that she quickly hid in a corner. I don't want to go to Fishman Island anymore. Fishman Island is too scary. Fishman Island has never interacted with humans before. Lord Poseidon is obviously lying to you. My sister Monet said with a smile. What? Damn it. Tang Poseidon actually bullied a little girl like me. Wearing a little dress, Sutong looked very cute with her cheeks puffed up and angry. She rolled her eyes and stepped forward. I am a childlike person who ate the childlike fruit. After eating it, I will not grow up. Do you know the power of the childlike fruit? Adolf looked at the little hand that came over and didn't stop. It must have something to do with contact. Sugar's hand froze, and she scratched in midair with her little paws, feeling a little embarrassed. It doesn't matter. Give it a try. Adolf said. That's what you said. Sutong showed an excited expression, trying to make Adolf look bad in a bad way. Puppet toy. There are no optical special effects, just a mediocre ability. Adolf immediately turned into a mermaid puppet. At the same time, countless people around the world had their thoughts paused and fragmented for a moment. What was I thinking just now? Who defeated the 3 generals and wanted to execute the Tianlong people? It's fake. How could someone defeat 3 generals at the same time and execute the celestial dragons? Those are the descendants of the Creator. As a person who shakes up world government and affects the direction of the world, people are thinking of him and taking a fancy to his newspapers every minute. But at this moment, all the deeds he had done and his own existence were erased from the minds of the world. No one believed it, even if they saw the newspaper. Even the old bird himself didn't know when he wrote the newspaper. Also includes the world government 5 elders, and even him, Hancock, Violet who keeps watching, and even Doflamingo and the others. Everything was shattered in an instant, and he was forgotten. I even doubt the accuracy of the information in my hand, and whether it is a joke to deceive the whole world. Hahaha. Look, you made me look embarrassed. Now it's your turn to make a fool of yourself. Sugar grabbed the mermaid doll and laughed proudly. Please, please, I will help you get rid of it. It seems that they have all forgotten about me, but you yourself are not affected. After all, you are a person with abilities. After turning into a toy, the physical strength will be weakened to a certain extent, but the three-color domineering force will not change. Because it is a cloth toy that can be penetrated by water, but will not be incapable of water. It is a product of a person with abilities. The cloth should be afraid of fire and can burn. Adolf turned into a mermaid puppet and looked at everyone, and at the same time he looked at his own doll body. Why aren't you scared? Sugar said, disappointed. You might be disappointed if you want to see me make a fool of myself. Adolf gave her a look. Huh. Just a burst of armed color, easily breaking away from the limitations of the fruit's ability. Sugar grabs the mermaid doll and swings it, and Adolf, who has returned to his original appearance, presses on Sugar. It's so heavy. You actually broke free by yourself. The Sugar was even crushed, which was even more unbelievable. Poseidon, Adolf. When they recovered, Doflamingo and others instantly remembered who the person in front of them was. The whole world also thinks of this person. It can be said that this incident directly caused turmoil around the world. It is even thought that Adolf has become a fruit power user and has a powerful fruit power that can affect the whole world. The newspaper is right. How could they forget it all of a sudden? It's impossible to forget such an important matter. This weird effect can only be caused by devil fruit power, but we all forgot about it. Did he eat a devil fruit? If that's the case, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Although the devil fruit has strange abilities, it is more difficult to deal with him hiding in the deep sea. There is no news about Saint Satan using his abilities at this time. Could it be that Garp and Bogart are not opponents together? The 4-5 elders on the Holy Land Mariajoya became solemn and began to brainstorm crazily. The amount of hegemony is at least at the level of an elite lieutenant general, which is not something ordinary people can achieve, and the consumption of hegemony is real. Once you use it, and it takes time to reply. It is also very difficult for a blue-cutting mage in high-end games. Adolf picked up the Sugar under him and pressed it on Shang Weiwei. Although it's my permission, if you want to see me make a fool of yourself, you still have to teach me a lesson. Legal little cutie dash. He slapped her face directly. Oh no. Sister, help. Young master, help. Stop fighting. I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again dash. The listener is sad and the listener sheds tears. Chapter 78 Fish Fruit, Phantom Beast Species, Merman Form. Saint. It's actually Saint Sartan. Why are you naked? Is it some kind of performance art? Marine Garp is here too. What happened to them? It was so miserable. Some time ago, the commander of the Knights of God also came up from below with a broken arm. Is the sea already so dangerous? Even the celestial dragons? Idiot. How can the 5 elders, the highest authority in the world government, be injured? After the last teleportation from the Red Earth continent, the group finally arrived at Marijoa, a place far away from the sea that gave them a sense of security. Many people discovered them and came to watch. It's just that they don't care anymore. Ho-ha, it's safe now. I really didn't expect that we actually escaped. Satan was naked and exhausted, and Vegapunk was completely out of strength. Garp and Bogart were both breathing heavily, and they had to support Satan. It can be said that he is extremely embarrassed and has no image at all. Especially Saint Satan, the most powerful 5 elders, naked in public. Satan Saint. The guard ran over in fear, bowed his head and handed over a cloak respectfully. Saint Satan stood up, and when he saw the guard bowing his head, humiliating anger burned in his chest. Where are you looking? Are you interested in men? No, I didn't look anywhere. How dare I be interested in the body of Lord Satan? The guard was horrified. As soon as he raised his head and saw the little spider in the black jungle, Saint Sartan became so murderous that he crushed his head with force. Evil eye. The cruel and crimson gaze swept across the whole place, wiping out all the nobles who were watching, leaving corpses with broken limbs and arms scattered everywhere. He hates others looking at his body, especially the gaze from behind. If Garp hadn't appeared in time, these looks would have been more than just a look. 20 top-grade devil fruits. He didn't believe that Adolf could resist blackmailing the world government. That cunning and despicable man, saying it means he really thinks so. Damn fish. Saint Satan gritted his teeth, and his whole person was in a state of rage. Garp didn't care. Just kill him. The nobles of Mariajoya were all rubbish anyway. This incident is very serious. I want to report Adolf's matter to warring states. Garp said directly to Saint Satan. No one can stop Adolf's power in the sea. The waves he raises will even sink the islands to the bottom of the sea. There is no need to go to New World. Satan Shengwan walked towards Mary Joa. He also needed to talk to several others immediately. 5 elders meeting. Garp nodded heavily. Punk Hazsad Island was the best example. The entire island was submerged and could not stop the endless tsunami. Panga City, a hall of power. Satan Saint, why don't you ask us to come over? The other 4-5 elders looked at Saint Sardan. They have heard about the embarrassment of Mary Joa when Saint Satan appeared, which shows that the situation is not optimistic. Do you want you to go over and destroy the group together? When the magic circle is finally opened, there is only a kilometer of foothold left, which can be destroyed by Adolf at any time. In that case, no matter how many people go, they will die. Especially the more capable people go, the more burdensome they become. Garp Bogart can't even take care of it. Saint Satan said heavily. It has come to this. 5 elders solemnly said. In the sea, no one can deal with Adolf. Especially those with abilities, they don't even have the strength to fight. Saint Satan said directly and seriously. He has brought the advantages of the deep sea race to the extreme. Like a natural phantom beast, fish fruit, phantom beast species, and mermaid form. It's like eating the Logia ocean devil fruit. You have almost absolute dominion over the sea. The pupils of the other 4-5 elders shrank, and they were described as natural phantom beasts and fruits of the ocean. Except for the Red Earth continent, I'm afraid there is no safe place anywhere. The sea, absolute dominion. The expressions of each one fell, and the entire conference room was instantly depressed to the extreme. They all felt uneasy. This means that the world government that has ruled the world for 800 years has received the most severe challenge. It's not because there are strong men who can sink the island, but because the race that lives in the sea has such power. Human beings live on land, and as long as their brains are clear, they will not sink to the island at will. But the races in the deep sea are different. If the island is gone, there will be no foreign enemies. Every race has exceptions that go beyond the norm. As long as Adolf is killed, the fishmen will be slaughtered as before, said the environmental martial god. Yes, although the deep sea race is troublesome, the real core lies in Adolf, said the legal martial god. That's the problem. Saint Satan, the god of scientific defense, said solemnly, and the others looked at him again. He is powerful not only because of his strength, but also because of his character and style. Like a predator in the jungle, he patiently forces his prey into a desperate situation and waits for the prey to weaken and die without putting himself in danger. Even if we have already succeeded, we will ensure that everything is foolproof. It's very difficult to kill him. Saint Satan is so solemn that even if he analyzes it afterwards, he can't find a single flaw. That was before. Just now we forgot about Adolf's existence for a moment. If it were not clearly recorded in newspapers and documents, and the deeds he did could be confirmed, we might really think it was a big lie. It has been verified that his ability covers the whole world, including the farthest islands in the 4 seas. It is beyond ordinary and weird. Although it is troublesome, it is actually a good thing for us. As long as our non-fruit ability users burst his bubble in the sea, he will lose his power like Sakaski and be slaughtered. Adolf and his fruit abilities can be recorded in writing, so there is no need to worry about forgetting. He understands the flaws of the devil fruit and its impact on him better than anyone else. He will eat it even if he gives up his advantage in the sea. This shows that this fruit is indeed very powerful, so don't be careless. Find a way to confirm what kind of fruit Adolf ate. A fruit that can affect the memory of the world is extremely rare among all devil fruits. Could it be a new fruit? 5 elders once again launched an in-depth discussion around Adolf's abilities. But compared to the previous solemnity, this time it was much more relaxed. The flaws of devil fruit are the same for all humans and ground creatures, so naturally it doesn't matter. But for the fishmen that live in the ocean, it's too big. Chapter 79, Doflamingo's Allegiance. We are soldiers of Fishman Island, stopping the ship. 1,000 meters under the sea, heading towards the mouth of Fishman Island, a team of Fishman warriors stopped the boat. Huh. Doflamingo looked. The Fishman Island is engaged in a full-scale war with the world government, and irrelevant personnel are not allowed to approach it for the time being. If you are here to watch the execution of the celestial dragons, you can go to Fishman Island under our leadership. But please be sure to exercise self-discipline, otherwise it will be regarded as provocation, and all provocateurs will be killed. If you want to pass through the first half of the journey, you can register and let us send someone to take you through. You will not enter Fishman Island in the middle. Changing the route for no reason will be regarded as the eyes and ears of the world government and will be sunk directly. The leading soldier came to inform. The team members behind him are holding cannonball weapons. If you don't listen to the advice, just sink. Even if they are all killed, higher-level units will receive the message and lead more troops to come. Would you like to see who is talking on the ship? Doflamingo gave in slightly. His Majesty Poseidon? The soldiers panicked for a moment and looked at the man on the boat with admiration. Quickly find someone to replace our patrol. and we will escort His Majesty Poseidon back to the island. Idiot. Don't forget your responsibilities. Whoever is on the ship must be registered. Even if there are fishmen returning from the bubble, they must come out and verify their identity in the seawater. Adolf came over and cursed. Register them. It's His Majesty Poseidon. A group of people hurriedly went through the procedures. What kind of pirate group are you? Who is the captain? How much is the bounty offered by the captain? How many people are there in total? What is the purpose of coming to the deep sea? The soldier conveyed the notice accurately and took out a pin to register. At the same time, another soldier held a phone bug in his hand and conveyed the information to the Fishman Island Information Center. After that, every station would follow up the information until he completely left the underwater world. Hey, don't you find this troublesome? Doflamingo looked at Adolf with a headache. I only know that if I don't do this, it will bring even greater trouble to Fishman Island. Adolf looked at him coldly. They are here. Do you dare not to cooperate? Doflamingo was silent for a moment. The other family members subconsciously swallowed their saliva and became nervous inexplicably. This expression scared me to death. It didn't look like a joke. Okay, I surrender. After all, we are in a head-on war with the world government, and they are so close to each other. It is understandable to be careful. Doflamingo had no choice but to throw up his hands and admit defeat. He didn't want to experience the consequences. Then he cooperated very honestly. My name is Don Quixote Doflamingo. The bounty is 340 million. There are a total of 34 people on the boat going to Fishman Island to watch the execution of the celestial dragons. I will abide by the rules of your Fishman Island. Okay, the information has been conveyed to the Fishman Island headquarters. Next, I will take you to Fishman Island and explain the precautions. The Fishman warrior took the initiative to enter the ship. Let go. The Doflamingo pirates have passed the first level. Please pay attention to the second level. Please pay attention to the headquarters. The soldier next to him said to the phone bug. Second level received. Headquarters received. After receiving confirmation, the pirate ship continued to penetrate deeper. Aren't you afraid that someone will lie when registering and say that they borrowed the route and see Fishman Island, and then kill you and go to Fishman Island? Sugar asked. Don't underestimate the defense system of Fishman Island arranged by His Majesty Poseidon, the Fishman warrior said with disdain. There are more than 10 Fishman garrisons along the entire route. If I die, the headquarters will immediately order the surrounding garrisons to ride on sea beasts. It only takes 20 minutes to search. How far can you run under the sea in 20 minutes? Where can you run? They will sink you directly then. If you have anything to explain, go to the sea prison and tell them. In other words, from the moment I get on your ship, my life is related to the life and death of all of you. Murloc warriors are proud. Look at the current Fishman Island and the Fishman tribe, who are standing tall and straight. How could they not be as cowardly as when Neptune led them and actually allowed pirates to go to the island to catch the mermaid lady? The Doflamingo family is all in pain. They are pirates, and they want to protect the life of a fishman who leads the way? This is what makes all pirates uncomfortable. Well, it's precisely because they are pirates that they are even less safe. If they come with friendship, the Murloc warriors on the ship will ensure their safety on the bottom of the sea. From the first half of the Grand Line to Fishman Island. 1,000 meters undersea waterfall. Huge water falling from the sea. 3,000 meters undersea passage. Dozens of kilometers long. 5,000 meters undersea monster lair. Many large undersea creatures. 7,000 meters undersea active volcano group. Volcanic eruptions can be artificially created, and temperature differences can create large whirlpools. 9,000 meters, a large trench under the sea. A huge black drop that can create undersea mudslides. The last Eve Sunshine Zone, a huge space of hundreds of kilometers, where large Poseidon species can swim freely. The same goes from Fishman Island to New World. Thousands of Fishman warriors will be stationed at each stage. If you don't arrive at the next place for a long time, people will be sent to search for it, and information will be verified with the Fishman Island headquarters at all times. It can be said that to truly control the entire underwater world, except for a very few devil fruits, no one can come to Fishman Island without permission. Even big pirates like Whitebeard and Kaido, Marine headquarters and world government lead fleets, and with the help of the natural environment, they can easily be buried under the sea. Adolf is confident. For example, channel explosives, active volcanoes, debris flows in the Great Trench. The entire underwater world belongs to you, Poseidon. Even the marine and world governments are helpless. Doflamingo laughed. My goal is not just the bottom of the sea, but the whole world. Next, I will completely take over the navigation rights of the sea, cut off Mariajoya's control of the sea on the Red Earth continent, and control the resources of the entire world. It is true that Fishman Island has a shallow foundation, and it will be difficult to attack Mariajoya, but my vision will not be limited to the Mermaid Clan. I will rule the entire world, and I will naturally accept humans and all races. As time goes by, it can drag down the world government until it collapses. Adolf wasn't trying to make a fool of himself this time. He did plan it this way. World government, the countdown to your end has begun. Doflamingo's blood boiled. His emotions went crazy. He covered his face with his hands and laughed ferociously. He has already seen the not-too-distant future and seen the regretful and despairing look of those high-ranking celestial dragons. Just like him, he was so hungry that he had nothing to eat and could only rummage through the putrid garbage. I prayed for forgiveness but was rejected, and that noble face was severely trampled under my feet. Doflamingo, you are a smart man. You understand what I mean after saying so much. Adolf looked at Doflamingo. You can answer me after this time, but remember, what I want to build is an empire, not a chaotic pirate world. Doflamingo calmed down and looked at Adolf with a cracked mouth. No need. I've already thought about it. Since I can personally turn this world upside down and watch those pigs fall to their knees, of course I will choose your side. Poseidon, Adolf. With that said, he knelt on one knee in front of Adolf and lowered his head. Behind him, his family members looked at each other and followed him one after another. Chapter 80. The pattern opens. Doflamingo. Buh. Doflamingo, you will be proud of your correct decision today. Caesar Carant put an arm around Doflamingo. Go away, you guy. Doflamingo held his head against his head. We will all be veterans of the Empire from now on. Let's live in harmony. Caesar Carant laughed. Doflamingo, I don't ask you to withdraw from the underground world, but you must not kill people at will, restrict the behavior of people below, and pretend to be a good person. After you officially take control of navigation rights, you must completely end all illegal transactions. Of course, this law is the law of the Empire. Adolf said directly. Doflamingo frowned. If all these businesses stop, what's the difference between us and ordinary pirates? Diamanti was dissatisfied. His Majesty Poseidon wants to control the world's transportation system, control all commodity flows, control all cross-border transactions, even all kingdoms. Doflamingo, the businesses in your eyes are too small to be on the market. Caesar Carant scoffed. Doflamingo's pupils suddenly shrank, and he grinned from ear to ear. As expected of your Majesty Poseidon, I am indeed short-sighted. What kind of underground intermediary, what kind of arms trade, what kind of human trafficking, it's all bullshit. Pattern. What is the pattern? This is. In comparison, he used to be nothing more than a rat in the ditch, and the world government didn't even bother to care about you. The ugly talk is ahead. I don't want to hear that you are using the Empire's transportation system to get contraband. We must stop it completely. Don't let the time come when you have to take the final call before you board the Marijo and see the last scene. And your subordinates, keep them in check. Adolf looked at him with cold eyes, and also glanced at Diamanti, Torbol and others. Pirates, he is very distrustful. His biggest point is his unrestrained and wanton character. But he also recognized Doflamingo's ability. Sure enough, being a good person is trouble. Doflamingo had no choice but to look at his family cadres. Now that we have decided to step into the wind of the times, the ship can only face the direction of the wind. I know what to do. Adolf nodded. Although Doflamingo's statement was a bit awkward, it did not affect the conveyance of his will. If he doesn't do it well by then, he will kill Doflamingo. No matter how capable you are, you have to give it away. The so-called world transportation system is based on the Empire and on the routes opened up by the fishmen. Although it would be much slower and more troublesome for another person to get up, he could still get up. It was not Doflamingo who chose him, but he chose Doflamingo, so Doflamingo could become the Imperial Minister of Commerce. That's all. Your Majesty Poseidon, in this deep-sea environment, the poison gas bomb I developed can poison all the people on the ship with just one shot. There is nowhere to hide in a completely enclosed space. Caesar Carant asked for credit. Don't use things that pollute the environment. It would be better if you could develop undersea launchers and incendiary bombs. Adolf frowned. Whoa, whoosh. As expected of your Majesty Poseidon, combustion requires oxygen, and high-temperature flames will also destroy bubbles. Leave it to me, Caesar Carant, the world's #1 scientist. I am the future president of the Academy of Sciences of the Empire, and I will never allow Imperial soldiers to use such backward attack methods. Caesar Carant is automatically substituted. Adolf is free, as long as you are happy. After 5 or 6 stations, we arrived at Fishman Island. What's that little bubble island for? We didn't have it last time, right? Sugar pointed at the little bubble island in front of Fishman Island. A large shipyard. All ships coming to Fishman Island from now on will be parked there. They will not enter Fishman Island directly. People will be allowed in after their identity is verified, and they will be checked again when leaving. The main purpose is to prevent pirates from kidnapping the mermaid lady or loading a boatload of explosives to carry out a terrorist attack. Although he keeps shouting every day to abandon Fishman Island and die with the world government, this is a forced change of tactics and a tactic to increase people's confidence. But if you can, it is better not to give up if you can. A safe and stable collective development space is very necessary in order to unite a nation. When people disperse, maybe they won't pay attention to you anymore. When the population of Fishman Island increases dramatically in the future, it will truly spread to the whole world and spread all over the world. Just like China, there are Chinese people everywhere in the world. Corn is roasted under the Eiffel Tower, and there are 3 poppers in front of the Louvre. The world is a huge made in China. Coward, be on guard against this and that. If you're so scared, just don't come out. Sugar pouted. Being beaten and pressed would be a lifelong shame for her. After all, Fishman Island is right below Mariajoya, and the Marine headquarters is right next to it. The tit-for-tat confrontation with Maimong is not something we pirates can compete with just by a few ships, Monet said with a smile. This lady is right. There are a large number of spies among the people who came to Fishman Island to watch the execution of the dragons during this period, said the Fishman warrior. How do you determine which people are spies and which ones are not? Monet was curious. I can't be sure, but there must be many. The Fishman warrior was extremely sure. Then you still let them in. Sugar was speechless. I have already asked the Fishman people to leave the island. Let them investigate whatever they want. If some serious secrets are discovered through the grassroots, then I don't have to do it. Adolf said nonchalantly. You can just hang out on Fishman Island. I don't have time to accompany you now. Wait, can you let me see in advance the Tianlong people who are going to be executed, as well as Akainu and the others? Doflamingo said. Only 5 minutes. Adolf thought about it, and finally gave him face as the newly recruited Minister of Commerce. No problem. Doflamingo accepted, of course. Immediately, Adolf led Doflamingo towards the sea prison. Hey, Sakaski, Kazan, Porcelino, long time no see. Doflamingo walked at a pace of 2,580,000 and looked like he didn't deserve a beating. Heavenly Yaksha? Sakaski looked up. It's so miserable to be soaked in the sea water, holding the sea tower stone, and the Marine's highest combat power. Doflamingo looked at their faces and taunted them. It seems that you have subdued him. It really surprises me. You want this kind of garbage? I have misjudged you. Sakaski looked at Adolf. You and him are the same, and you have to change the fact that you kill innocent people at will. Adolf said. I didn't agree to join you. Sakaski snorted coldly. Huh? Adolf, you want to subdue the 3 of them? Doflamingo is stupid, then he is still so arrogant. When the time comes, you can't surround him to fix it. The celestial dragons are just around the corner. Go on your own, Adolf said. Doflamingo turned around and saw that in another sea prison, St. Roswaiter was lying there without his legs, completely in despair. St. Roswaiter, do you still remember me? He laughed ferociously and violently, with veins popping out on his forehead, trying to hold back the intention of killing. The pleasure of revenge surged out of his heart. The Tianlong who rejected him at the beginning turned out to be so miserable. It's really, really good. It's you. Doflamingo. Save me. I will allow you to become a celestial dragon again. St. Roswaiter showed hope again. Stop dreaming. I want to watch you be publicly executed in front of the whole world. Watch the supreme authority of the celestial dragons be trampled to the ground. Doflamingo suppressed his murderous intention and killed him like this. It was too easy for them. Chapter 81, Walking on Thin Ice. Adolf glanced at him and ignored the vengeful Doflamingo, as long as he didn't kill him. I have good news for you. Marine headquarters offered more than 40 billion yuan to buy you back this morning. I agreed, not because I lacked the more than 40 billion yuan, but because I said that you should go back and consider it and make a decision based on justice in your heart. But just now, I captured 5 elders and Saint Satan alive. I almost let him come here to accompany you. There is one more 5 elders on the execution platform. Do you know the value of that? It's a pity that your marine hero rescued him. That old man is really the savior of the Draco. All previous negotiations are null and void. Not only do you have to think clearly here, I will also nail the stilts on you. Don't worry, if you join me, I will definitely pull it out and cure you. 3 generals. You failed? And then you came back to take it out on us? Is this fair? Is this reasonable? Hiss. Ho-ha ho-ha. The 3 Sakaskis had bloodshot eyes. Their heads were covered in cold sweat, and their bodies were trembling. Think it over here, or pray to old man Garp to save you too. Let's go, Doflamingo. Adolf clapped his hands and left without stopping, taking Doflamingo with him. He can threaten Marine with 3 generals, or execute 3 generals to force Garp. It seems that he executed the 3 generals because Garp troubled him. This is really what it takes. Are you mentally ill? You admire Odin. right? Because Garp ruined the enemy's plan and allowed the enemy to execute 3 generals in retaliation, the Garp who had done meritorious service should be excluded? The 3 generals are already in the hands of the enemy and can be executed at any time. If you want to be arbitrarily threatened and squeeze out internal unity just because of this, the leader of that country is so stupid, it's like you were kidnapped by a robber. The robber said that he would kill 2 policemen across the street or kill the hostages. Do you want to listen to what you were saying? The little fairy's ability to suddenly activate her lover is not so outrageous. And what he is plotting is the entire Marine organization. It is the authority to rule over the whole world. It is the foundation for dismantling world government. In addition, even if he kills Garp, or even kills Sengoku, and destroys the entire Marine, it is nothing more than a temporary gain or loss in his eyes. He no longer has Marine in his sights. His target is the world government. Adolf, I have something to tell you about the Draco National Treasure. Doflamingo suddenly spoke on the way. Huh? Adolf looked at him. The subordinates must show their loyalty, and as the king, of course they must give them a chance. I was once a celestial dragon, because my hopelessly stupid father took Mary Joa out, and then there was no way to go back. Doflamingo slowly told the story. This was the first time he took the initiative to mention it to others. Also includes the national treasure of the celestial dragons that he knows. Do you suspect that I have eaten a devil fruit? Maybe you can use it to defeat me? Adolf leaned on the throne, put one arm around Violet's thin waist, and relaxed it with the other. Although he is wearing a sea tower stone ring on his hand, as long as it is wrapped with gold foil or the like, and there is no direct contact, it will not prevent the ability user from using the ability, and it can improve the adaptability to the sea tower stone over a long period of time. Violet clung to Adolf's chest, her body softened, her face flushed, and she put a hand on Adolf's eyes, allowing him to intuitively see everything she saw in Marijo. He said with a slight regret, "What I didn't expect was that the first few times Saint Satan used the magic circle were not to escape, but to summon other 5 elders. In that case, he should be allowed to use it. Call all the 5 elders who are drinking tea. Garp and Bogart will not be able to save them by then." Adolf regretted that he had never seen them use it in Marijo before, so naturally there was no way to obtain this information. It can be said that most of his previous victories were based on the perspective hook provided by Violet. If there is no perspective hanging, he will be very passive in whatever he wants to do. When it comes to Saint Satan's use, you must have coordinates to teleport. Otherwise, it will be within a certain distance. I don't worry about appearing directly on Fishman Island, but as long as one comes over, the other 4 will arrive immediately. No, this is something like black magic. Isn't it super ancient technology? Isn't it a devil fruit ability? Adolf frowned in thought. He even thought of a situation. Just like Nagato's Rinnegan, the 5 elders are all puppets of a certain subject, and that subject is the real person. The only way to make the 5 elders serve as puppets is him. If it weren't for him, the problem would be even bigger. Just before he came, Saint Satan arrived at Future Island, and then disappeared. Who knows what outrageous plot will follow? If a filial son can save his mother, he will have to guard against trying to dig out his heart. Sorry, when they fall asleep at night, I will read more of their books and try to find these secrets. Violet felt worried for him. I'm going to trouble you, but don't feel guilty. This is not your fault. You have helped me a lot. Adolf hugged Violet to comfort him. Although Violet can see Marie Joa, everything during the war serves the war, and there are too many people to keep an eye on. Mary Joa's the 5 elders, the Warring States period at the Marine headquarters, the appearance of the Gate Fruit, ensuring safety in the waters around Fishman Island, the water prisons of the 3 generals, and the 25,000 Marine prisoners. There are so many things to pay attention to. It was impossible to discover all the secrets of the world government in such a short period of time. And she was not a top student like Robin. 5 elders am not even crazy. He talks about secrets every day. Do you talk about your payment password? The main original work has just been published, so it's just a suspense. The author has just read this. What can I do? I can only patch it like crazy. I'm afraid they'll stab me in the back next week and nail me to death on the spot. Here. The worst case scenario now is that the world government masters some kind of teleportation technology and comes directly to Fishman Island. Although this is not possible, we still need to be prepared. It seems that humans cannot enter the mainland of Fishman Island and can only stay on Little Bubble Island. By now, the fishmen have dispersed to the safety zone of the Red Earth Continent Canyon, with dozens or hundreds of strongholds. If they come, we will burst the bubble and die together. Anyway, we are a race that lives in the sea, and there is no need for even bubbles to exist. This way don't worry about their space technology. When the fishmen gradually gain strength, and each stronghold is equipped with a strong guard, they will have no choice at that time. It will be harder now. Adolf thought about the solution. Although it was difficult, it was not impossible. The sea was their strongest backing. In the deep sea, can you outrun the mermaid? Rush out of the bubble as fast as you can. It's like walking on thin ice. Adolf sighed. Currently, the comics haven't revealed the secrets of 5 elders, so we're just waiting to be slapped in the face. We will change it when we travel through time and space. To be honest, if we could teleport at will, for emperors would be a joke. Even if we compare the combat power per head, it would be no different from a joke. Hey Dorian fuming, let Pika start work immediately and build the transit island as soon as possible, which is the small bubble island that Sugar asked about before. Build the foundation first, and then I will find the designer to rush out the drawings. Adolf Chuigong, didn't you say it was used as a shipyard? Doflamingo was confused. I have changed my mind. From now on, humans are not allowed to enter the mainland of Fishman Island, and even transit islands must keep their distance from Fishman Island. Let Pika start moving quickly. The marine captives will also mine as soon as possible. If it's too slow, let Pika go directly to the Red Earth continent to get a few large rocks. The fruit power is much faster than breaking the stone with a manuscript. Marine will let them let's lay bricks and start construction on the transit island. Anyway, hurry up and get the prototype out in these 2 days, and leave the rest to Marine as a prisoner. I don't have idle people here. After it is completed, 100 large-scale cave safe houses will be built in the Red Earth continent, and the interior will be ensured to be accessible in all directions. You know the beehive, that's pretty much it, Adolf urged. Doflamingo was stunned. Is this workload serious? Even his sweatshop is not so oppressive, right? By the way, if he joins the Empire, he can still receive the promised 100 million? Work hard, and it's not impossible to hand over the Empire's construction department minister to you in the future. It would be a waste not to build the stone fruit. If we had the ability of this fruit, it would have taken many years for the Bridge Kingdom to be completed. Adolf said and hung up the phone. Goodoo. Pika swallowed secretly. Although it sounds like they are all here to do hard work, and they are still the kind of people who do the work of hundreds of thousands or millions of people, but the position of Imperial Minister, that's the same level as young Master Doflamingo. Chapter 82 Dwarf Fruit E. Bruno. Violet, can you see the technology in this brain? For example, artificial devil fruit technology? Adolf looked at Violet. Yes, I can see the science and technology in his brain memory. There are so many technologies, all of which are world-leading technologies. I found the artificial devil fruit technology, Violet exclaimed. Originally, she was not able to see the memory even 10 years later. She could only see what was in her heart at that time. But during the time he was with Adolf, his body's genetic cells were active and accelerated his evolution, even including the bloodline factors of the devil fruit. The huge pressure from the world government also gave her a sense of crisis, and both her own strength and the development of her fruit abilities have greatly improved. But I don't understand science myself, and it's difficult to replicate it. It must be given to technicians who really understand science to make it work. Violet looked at Vegapunk's huge brain on the ground and shook her head. Find some time to give it to Caesar Carrot. He can use it to digest and build an artificial devil fruit factory. Then we will have the capital to land on land. But keeping him secret is a problem. Such a big mouth will easily leak even if he threatens death. Adolf frowned. He believed in Caesar Carrot's skills, but this big mouth. By the way, let the image phone bug see the memory you saw, and then let the image phone bug play it for him. Ah, so clever. I didn't even think of it myself. Violet looked at him with admiration. Obviously, she was the one with the ability to stare at the fruit. What's so clever? You are my key. See what Vegapunk is thinking now. Adolf hugged Violet tightly and continued to play with the cotton balls in his hands. What Vegapunk is thinking about now is how to locate the specific location of his brain through brainwaves and then retrieve it. And you are worried that if your brain is in your hands, he will die if it is destroyed. I'm still depressed because of the influence of Hylu Stone. My body can't move. How should I complete the research and invention of my brain? Violet blushed and looked at Vegapunk's brain and said, as expected of a genius, he can still find a way to conduct research even if his abilities are sealed with Sea Tower Stone. We are not in a hurry to destroy it now. Let's extract the technology from his mind first. If there is a threat, we can only destroy it. Adolf is in a bright mood. As long as he keeps the Sea Tower Stone stuck in Vegapunk's head, Vegapunk will not be able to use the brain fruit, or even be able to move himself. In this way, it doesn't matter whether he kills Vegapunk or not. Violet looked up at Mary Joa out of habit, and suddenly saw some important news, and quickly put her other hand in Adolf's eyes. Bruno has secretly climbed onto the Red Earth continent, and headed to Mary Joa under the escort of CP0. News came from Fishman Island. Adolf has returned to Fishman Island. It only takes an hour to take the giant whirlpool from Judiciary Island to Marina Fando, and then be escorted to the elevator by Sengoku himself. Even Adolf can't react, right? It's better to be cautious. No one knows whether it will be discovered by the fishmen patrolling under the sea. Red Earth continent. Adolf finally has nothing to do. The 5 elders talk to each other and remain highly wary of Adolf. Violet turned her eyes and quickly found a group of people moving quickly on the Red Earth continent. And Bruno, the person with the ability of the gate fruit, was protected in the middle. Compared with the current CP0, Bruno is much weaker and cannot keep up with his physical strength. Then he is carried on his shoulders and runs. If they go to sea, I will accept Bruno. Adolf sighed, and the 5 elders were also afraid. Don't be sad, there must be a way. Violet could only comfort her like this. It's okay, be mentally prepared. His strength on the sea is very strong, and it can be said that no one will be able to use it. Once on land, it will be weakened a lot, but as it adapts, it can also use the power of the sea to set off layers of huge waves until the island is submerged. But the Red Earth continent? Is it understandable that it is 50,000 meters high and 50 kilometers high? Let alone Poseidon. Unless the sea god comes, it is impossible to create a tsunami that high. There could be a mass extinction in the whole world. Of course, this Poseidon cannot be a Poseidon from some continent. How dare you touch porcelain with a mere 100,000 kilograms or 50 tons? Is it even as good as a road roller? The natural environment of the deep sea can crush this god to death. Show the abilities you have now. The god of science and defense sat on the sofa with his palms clenched, regaining the poise and composure that the world's highest power should have. I am a doorman who has eaten the door fruit. Any object that my body and hands touch will turn into a door. I can enter and exit freely anywhere gate of opening. After opening the door, you can enter a different space that is exactly the same as reality and move through space. With my current physical strength, I can complete space movement within 100 meters. Bruno explained. The 5 elders all frowned. Is it only 100 meters? Bruno felt Alexander instantly. Although he couldn't see it on his face, the 5 elders were all watching. He was almost scared to death. Okay? Moving through space consumes a lot of energy. That's because you're too weak. The blonde-haired farming martial god said unceremoniously. Bruno. Teleportation using the surgical fruit is also very energy-consuming. Bruno's current strength is not that strong, and he has not even developed the air gate of opening yet. Can you open a door in the sea? Directly to Fishman Island, the environment warrior said bluntly. As a world government, he has a devil fruit illustrated book and knows the power of the door fruit better than Bruno himself. Sea? Seawater? Bruno was stunned. I have never thought that the sea is a forbidden land for people with abilities. If you enter a different world in the sea, you should also be affected by the sea Mizukage? Huh. The 5 elders all frowned. To be honest, they had never developed the gate of seawater gate for opening before. It's totally unnecessary, okay? Open the sea door and try. If you are affected, use a boat instead, said the sword-wielding bald-wealth god. As long as we enter a different space, the traps on the route to Fishman Island are meaningless to us, and everything else is unimportant. The legal martial god nodded. From the beginning, they did not expect Bruno to jump directly in space and send them to Fishman Island in one step. Let alone Bruno. It was unrealistic even with their own strength. It can be said that it is enough to open a different space. This approach is also a disguised admission that Sakaski and the others were frightened by their defeat and did not dare to force their way through the normal route. Soon, the 5 elders and Bruno came to a huge swimming pool with seawater in it. In this world, seawater and other liquid water cannot be confused, especially for those with abilities. Seawater, a gate of opening. Bruno put his hand deep into the seawater and immediately felt a sense of powerlessness. The contact was not much, so the impact was not great. Just using the ability, no reaction. The 5 elders all had expressionless faces and didn't say a word, just watching. Bruno had cold sweat on his forehead. Who knows about his family? The pressure is a bit big. Seawater gate of opening. Sea gate of opening. Hi hey Heyman. Seawater gate of opening. Chapter 83 Aaron returns. After seeing Bruno's performance, Adolf felt relieved. It's not that I can't develop the seawater gate of opening, but I know Bruno's specific abilities. As long as you know it in advance, you can come up with countermeasures and even use it to your advantage. Of course, it would be better and safer if it really cannot be developed. Based on the current situation of Fishman Island, steady development is the way to go. But you don't just have to let others do it if you want to develop stably. If you don't show your strength and courage that no one can bully, how can you let others know that you are not easy to mess with? If you are close to the world government, they will bully you because they have been bullying you for hundreds of years. Your Majesty Poseidon, my brother Aaron is back and he wants to see you. Mrs. Charlie came to the room. No one was allowed to enter Adolf's bedroom except her. She was careful about Komiai's affairs and did not bring even her brother in. Aaron, I'm going to see him now. How is your practice of seeing and hearing the color domineering? Adolf asked. The progress is very fast, but it will take a long time to predict the future. Mrs. Xiali was embarrassed. Adolf stood up and held her in his arms, leaning against his ear with distress and apology. I'm sorry to make you feel stressed, but Fishman Island does need your strength, and I need you too. I will continue to work hard. Mrs. Charlie's heart swayed. Let's stay tonight. Adolf held her face in his hands and looked into her eyes very close. Xia Li's eyes were watery, and he turned his head slightly to dodge, unable to face the hot and longing gaze. His whole person seemed to be invaded, and his heart was occupied with the high ground. She breathed softly, but she didn't feel disgusted. Adolf smiled and kissed Xia Li's forehead gently. Then I'll go first. That's right, Your Majesty Poseidon. I don't know how many mermaid ladies I need to keep in the harem. Violet tidied her collar with disgust and helplessness, and her skin was still pink with blood and pleasure. Adolf looked at Violet, smiled, and kissed her forehead gently. Contact me after Bruno develops it. The so-called jealousy disappeared, and Adolf also left. He is the king after all. There is no little girl on Fishman Island who would refuse, right? Not to mention being treated tenderly. Xia Li stroked the face he touched with pleasure. He is not as gentle as you see at night. He is particularly tough and rough. Violet's face turned red. I have some expectations. It will be like a shark biting its prey. Mrs. Xia Li's cold expression also turned red. Strong man, hero, king, status, fame, power, and wealth. When you have these and reach the extreme, you can attract almost all women even if you do nothing. What's more, he was the one who really saw his grace in Fishman Island. Aaron, welcome you home. Welcome every compatriot who is willing to return. Adolf came to the Dragon King's hall. Adolf. No, it should be His Majesty Poseidon. Aaron and the others looked at him excitedly. We came back as soon as we saw your newspaper. The former King Neptune was too weak, and Otoheim had such ridiculous ideals. But you are different. If you make Fishman Island truly stand up straight, we should dominate the lower races of humans. I am willing to take you, Aaron, and his gang to follow you. Aaron got excited, and the smile on his face couldn't go away at all. Domination? Lower races? Unfortunately, it may not be what you think. Adolf shook his head and Aaron dropped his smile. Although I led the Fishman Island to resist the world government, I never regarded other races as inferior races and treated them as slaves to dominate. Aaron, you are a pure racist. Only people who love their own race extremely can hate evil like you and glare at those races that have bullied us. I trust people like you very much, even if I entrust my life to you. Aaron was moved. The king of Fishman Island, the hero who defeated the Marine fleet, could actually entrust his life to him? What a trust. But you should know that every race and every country has good people and bad people. We cannot regard all his races and countries as evil because of one person. Even on our Fishman Island, there is a fishman gang that kidnaps mermaid girls and sells them to human traffickers. Do you know who they are, right? Why not kill these people? They are more hateful than the humans who oppress us. How many of our compatriots have they suffered torture that is worse than death? Adolf walked past Aaron and looked at the gang he had brought. None of them are very strong, and even Aaron may not be as good as the colonel at Marine headquarters. But as long as he is a fishman and loves this race and country, he wants it. Racism will not betray one's own race or country. Brainless love may not necessarily be right, because it is too brainless and leads to irrational behavior, but it is definitely not wrong. It can be said that Aaron is a person worthy of his careful cultivation. Like Hody Jones, he has brains, leadership skills, and takes things seriously. This is a talent that Jinbei and Neptune don't have. Muro and his gang from Fishman Street. Those scum. Aaron thought for a moment and fell silent. Of course he knows that every race has good people and bad people, but the former Fishman Island was not qualified to tell the difference because it did not have the ability to protect its compatriots. Now Fishman Island is different. We have our own place, and we make our voice heard to the world. In addition, I want to rule the entire world, all countries, and replace the world government. Don't limit your sights to Fishman Island. That is too narrow. Replace the world government. Aaron's pupils shrank. Others were also shocked. They couldn't even imagine what the Fishman Island used to be. No additional privileges are needed. The advantage of the fish people in living in the sea is enough to make us proud of all races. They will no longer think the fish people are ugly. They will only envy, and long for our blood. Those who can swim freely in this sea bloodline. In addition, Fishman Street no longer exists. They have all returned to Fishman Island. There will no longer be orphanages like Fishman Street in the future. All children are the future of Fishman Island, and I will do everything I can to cultivate them. The future belongs to us as well as them. Adolf clenched his fist and told everyone in an extremely firm tone. Aaron smiled, his obviously ferocious and terrifying face, and his mouth full of sharp shark teeth, all looked sunny and heartwarming, because his heart is no longer filled with killing and revenge. A person's spirit can be expressed from the inside out, and people can feel it when they see it. My compatriots, my king, I have nothing to say. You have solved all the problems in my heart. You have also made me feel the sunshine and see the bright future of Fishman Island, an extremely beautiful future. I don't know what to do to achieve all that. All I can do is go through fire and water for you in Fishman Island. Eren knelt down on one knee in front of Adolf. He was completely relieved and convinced. It is true that he hates human beings, but he loves his compatriots even more. Before coming, they had been prepared to fight the world government to the death, even if they gave up their last drop of blood without regrets, but they were determined to take revenge on mankind. But things are different now. Now he is willing to shed his last drop of blood to help Adolf realize this great ideal. People born in Fishman Street don't have much culture, and fighting to the death is their most direct expression. Eren and the others behind him all knelt down on one knee without hesitation and said, "Your Majesty Poseidon." Those who can follow Eren's group are basically racists. They love this country and race. I won't let you down. Come on. I'll take you to the army. Remember to change all your thief habits. This is the army of Fishman Island. Soldiers who defend our country must behave like soldiers. Otherwise, I won't be polite even to you. Adolf smiled, patted Eren on the shoulder, and walked out. Eren grinned. Did you hear that, compatriots? Fishman Street no longer exists. This is also our country and our home. The others grinned one after another, feeling a feeling of warmth in their hearts like the waves lapping. Chapter 84 Marriage with Big Mom. Hey Pika, you have a chance to become the Minister of Construction. Aren't you a head above us? Are you at the same level as young Master Dover? Torbol looked at Pika, who was working hard and was unhappy. There are more than one. You don't even have a position in the Empire, right? Pika's sharp voice made the words even more heartbreaking. Let them all be stupid, okay? Really? We don't even have a position? Damn it. Diamante held her head. I'm afraid that my brother will have a hard time, and I'm even more afraid that my brother will drive a Land Rover. Brothers who once suffered together. You suddenly become a powerful person? Who can bear this? No, I also want to get a ministerial position. Dover, please think of a way. What should I do? How about the Combat Performance Minister? As a person with great artistic ability, I am the head of the art department, right? Fat Aunt Yora looked forward to it endlessly. Ask me to teach fishmen to swim? It's really a difficult thing. Swimming Fruitability User Senior Peak expressed his embarrassment, but he was more concerned about another thing, hoping for a panacea for Fishman Island. Can you cure Luthien, please? Then I am the one with the ability to explode, the explosion department? Gladius said. Is it possible that I want to be the minister of the elderly department? Gymnastics for the elderly? Rauji pinched his chin and thought. Then let me go to the toy department. Sugar also joined in the fun. Hee hee hee. How can one person have one minister? Monet smiled, but a snowflake was spinning on her fingertips, as if she was still thinking about what she was suitable for. The empire established to replace the world government and the institution that directly rules all countries essentially exceeds the dominance of the world government. How can such great power be given to a department minister casually? It is not as simple as a pirate gang. Doflamingo leaned on the stone. In his opinion, if Adolf hadn't really needed Pika's ability now, and had done the work of hundreds of thousands of people by himself, and made great contributions, they would not have been allowed to obtain 2 ministerial positions as a group. It has to be said that all of his men are talented, but it is a pity that the upper limit has not been raised. Hey Doflamingo, are you Shichibukai? Are you joining Fishman Island? Black Maria came over holding a pipe, followed by a group of women. She is in charge of Yukaku on Ghost Island, that is, people from the Kaido pirates. Doflamingo turned around and looked. In the past, he would have been afraid, especially of Kaido himself, but now, there is a big boss behind everyone, and he is even more awesome and does not panic. It's not surprising. Mom also wants to marry Adolf. She is very optimistic about Adolf. 18th female butter minister Garrett came over. Marriage? Do you want to join forces with Adolf? Aren't you afraid of the world government's revenge? Phoenix Marco looked at it. Isn't Fishman Island empty? Does it count as Fishman Island without the beautiful mermaid lady? Disappointed. Teach held a cherry pie in hand, with regret written all over his face. Originally, Whitebeard didn't plan to send anyone here, but he couldn't help but his sons really wanted to watch. After all, the execution of the Celestial Dragons was a much bigger event than the execution of One Piece. Therefore, Marco came to hang up the phone, which was regarded as the most benevolent thing. After all, he just hung a flag and showed his face. As for Teach, he applied completely on his own initiative, but actually he wanted to see Adolf's performance with his own eyes. The devil fruit was restrained by seawater and turned into a dog-like shape, and the 3 generals were directly destroyed. Didn't he become a fool after he had been plotting for more than 10 years to secretly use the fruit? Perhaps Adolf had expected that this island would turn into a battlefield. Stussy, Queen of Happy Street, walked out gracefully. Hey! The Whitebeard pirates, Kaido pirates, Big Mom pirates, and the guys from the underground world are all here. Doflamingo grinned wildly. Join Adolf, who transforms from a spectator and witness to a participant. From guest to host. Why are you in such a good mood? After all, everyone in the world is paying attention to such a big event that affects the world structure. If it were not in the deep sea and not so close to the world government, there would only be more people coming. Veteran Morgan is coming. Let's get to know each other again. Imperial Commerce Minister Doflamingo. I should have the opportunity to do business with you in the future. Doflamingo smiled. Future Minister of the Imperial Construction Department, Pika. Pika said with his lower body melting into the rock and his burly upper body. Building the ability of the stone fruit? Teaches a little stupid. Is this how the devil fruit is used? The Empire? Doesn't it really want to dominate the world and replace the world government? Even Shichibukai can be conquered. That guy Adolf is so ambitious. Marco frowned. Ambitious men are attractive. Black Maria particularly appreciated it. It's not about subduing, it's about being convinced. Just be happy if you don't step on the ship of the future, you will only be abandoned by the wind and waves of the times. Doflamingo shrugged. Even these so-called emperors of the sea were just pirate gangsters who were content in one place compared to that man. He no longer took this pattern seriously. Everyone present was strong. They suddenly felt something, turned around and looked serious. Poseidon, Adolf. Why are you here watching Pika work? Adolf came over and wondered. You're not here to supervise the work, are you? The corners of Doflamingo's mouth twitched. This was real oppression. It's always harder to be a senator, so you can be convincing in a high position. Adolf patted him on the shoulder to comfort him. There is no one on the entire Fishman Island, so I just came to see the excitement here. Teach said directly, his big, unambitious eyes looking cute. Mom wants to marry you and fight against the world government together. She can lend you the power of all nations. This is Mom's only mermaid daughter, Praline. 18-year-old Butter Minister Garrett introduced. Hello. My name is Charlotte Praline, 19 years old. 21-year-old female mermaid Praline was nervous. She used to be a very wild and cheerful person, but now she feels uneasy when she meets her fiancé. Marriage? Adolf frowned. If Linlin is the king of all nations, that's fine, but not as a pirate. Besides her, can you and I also want it together? He's Poseidon. It's not too much to have a few more fish in the harem, right? The house is big, and he has a big heart, so he can fit in it. Garrett frowned. What a greedy man, but I don't hate him. It depends on my mother's decision. Then I will visit Linlin after this matter is over. If any girl comes to my door, of course it must be a boy who takes the initiative to propose. Adolf looked at Praline and Garrett. Please propose. Do you agree? 21 female, a mermaid. Praline's face was slightly red in surprise. There's no reason to refuse, right? Adolf stepped forward and hugged her. Praline was embarrassed, but she didn't refuse, completely letting herself be manipulated. Click. Hahahaha. Big news. Poseidon Adolf is going to marry the Big Mom pirates to completely make up for the ground power and form the strongest force in the world. The sea, let it boil. The news king, Morgans, kept his camera clicking, and he had even imagined the plot to the stage of Siege of the Holy Land. Mariajoya? Bay 8. Yeah, this is really a big event. Doflamingo also looked up to the sky and laughed wildly, becoming violent, crazy, and completely excited. Chapter 85I, Poseidon, I am the enemy of the world. The people I saw on the side frowned and looked at each other. Poseidon Adolf proved with facts that Fishman Island has become a force that no one can ignore. Now we are married to Big Mom. Whether it is in the name of the nations or the pirate group, the marriage is the result. In this way, he is truly invincible in this sea, and other forces will be defeated and annexed even if they shrink to islands. Of course, they still don't know about the sinking of Punk Hassad Island, and they think Adolf is relying on his advantage at sea. I will tell my mother the news now. She will be happy. 18-year-old Butter Minister Garrett's lips curled up happily, and she took out the phone book. If Fishman Island is sunk by then, I won't be able to bring the snacks and specialties of Fishman Island as gifts. I hope you don't mind. As a guest, Adolf still has some courtesy when visiting, not to mention the mother-in-law of several princesses. It doesn't matter, Mom will understand. After all, we are fighting against the world government, and I will help when the time comes. 18-year-old Butter Minister Garrett comforted him, treating Adolf completely as one of her own. To be precise, he is a husband who can be relied upon. After all, their own sisters and brothers often bully each other. Hahaha, thank you for your kindness, but it would be so embarrassing for me if my fiancé comes to help me deal with the enemy. Adolf laughed. Married to the kingdom of Totland, that is, all nations, Charlotte Linlin's combat power is of course important, but the most strategic one is the mirror fruit user, 8th woman, Charlotte Bree. With her ability, She can cross an altitude of 50,000 meters without risk and without being noticed, and directly reach the holy land of Mariajoya. At that time, it will not be as simple as threatening the rule of the world government. Wait a minute. Our great admiral wants to recruit you as deputy captain. What do you think? Black Maria lowered her head and looked nervously at Adolf. Kaido? Adolf looked up. Big. Very big. There's no way. She's too big. Stand up in a perfect position to drink water. At the same time, he has an extraordinary capacity. If he sits down, he can enjoy dinner buried in his big heart, of course, compared to the size of Shirahoshi, who can lie down on his bed in the future. Suitable for a restaurant, right? Ideas? Do you think a ship can carry the entire ocean? I have quite an idea for you. He likes this kind of large beauty very much, which is called plump and voluptuous. Of course, it's good to pick up a small Lolita and hang it on a stick. Me? Hahaha. Then we can have a good talk if we have a chance. Just the two of us. Black Maria smiled, not minding having thoughts about her at all. You just said you wanted to marry me, so why are you getting involved with other women? 21-year-old female mermaid Praline raised her eyebrows in dissatisfaction. Men are very carefree. They want any beautiful woman, let alone propose to your sister at the same time. You must be mentally prepared, bride-to-be. Black Maria teased. Humph. 21 female mermaid Praline snorted at her. Speaking of which, our Grand Admiral also has an idiot daughter. She is very powerful and a beauty, although she has no such self-awareness at all. If you like marriage, the Grand Admiral will not refuse it. Black Maria took a puff of her pipe and looked at Adolf. I will visit Kaido. Let's talk about it then. But I will never form an alliance with pirates. Adolf said casually. Yamato, a person who recognizes himself as another person who has died just by relying on his diary. A big-breasted, white-haired girl is extremely talented and beautiful, but her head doesn't work very well. Although he wanted to use it as a durable daily necessities, he felt like he was playing with a mentally retarded child, and his mentality was subtle. Our king wants to overthrow the world government and establish an empire. Of course he will not ally with pirates. In fact, pirates who endanger world stability are enemies that must be dealt with. Of course you have to put it behind the world government. You still have time to make changes. Doflamingo was not afraid of pirates joining forces with the world government and revealed it directly. Yes, the world used to be dominated by the world government. Whatever it becomes is the indulgence of the world government. You can put the blame on them. But after I take over the world, pirates are garbage that must disappear, including the so-called underground world, the King of Darkness, and all illegal organizations. Adolf also didn't hide anything. As long as he married Charlotte Linlin, it was basically no secret. Ah, then aren't you going to destroy my happy street? There are many young and beautiful girls in my happy street. Can't you move your heart? Queen of Happy Street Stussy put her hand in front of her mouth and was frightened. If you, the girl from Happy Street, were trafficked here without consent, you will be killed too. Adolf looked at her. What a domineering good man. Even the world government allows it. Stussy said with a smile. So the world government will be overthrown. Adolf said. Hahahaha, it is indeed the declaration of the great Poseidon. Even the Emperor of the Sea does not take it seriously. What kind of big pirate? The legendary pirate? The entire pirate group and even the Dark World, plus the world government, are all covered. To be destroyed in this sea. He is simply the enemy of the whole world. I would like to call you the strongest in the world. The News King's eyes sparkled. He clenched his fists and raised his hands high, his blood boiling, and he immediately recorded it, as if he had already thought of the newspaper title. I, Poseidon, am the enemy of the world. Regardless of pirate trash or world government, let's come here. Hey, you're not talking nonsense. Don't make everything so exaggerated. Adolf has a big head. This old bird likes Boruto's eyeballs. This makes it seem like he is an enemy of the entire pirate force in the world government, really like an enemy of the entire world. Although this is indeed the case, even if Charlotte Linlin did not change the power system, did not ban the pirate group, and still acted in a pirate way, he would not marry her. With the mirror fruit ability being like that, would he want to marry her together? All he needs to do is to get the ability users. When the time comes to build rocks on the sea and close the deep sea, it's not up to him to use them however he wants. Does Charlotte Linlin have a solution? Even if all the pirates unite with the world government, he will not be afraid. This sea is his most reliable ally. Are the Whitebeard pirates loyal enough? There is only one rule on the ship. Harming your companions is not allowed, but this is the only rule that someone still violates. How many innocent people will die if they burn, kill, and rob without any rules? Where do their treasures come from? It's completely like pirates. Even an alliance is not trustworthy, let alone the issue of governance after the founding of the People's Republic of China, which will inevitably lead to chaos. Even after the world government is overthrown, they will kill each other over the issue of power distribution. Maybe the world government will come up with a plan to alienate them, which will be even more disgusting. Of course, he can also deal with it after success like Liu Bang, but now that he has a choice, he does not need to ruin his reputation.